Hello, everybody, and welcome to MUFC Realist TV and Jarvis's Corner. I'm your host, Jarvis Cocker. Tonight we will have a show fully packed with the analytics of yesterday's game. We have a special guest. We have Stu Wally as my co-host, and I have other people coming on the show after a while. So stay tuned, and we will be back after the intro.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to
Yes, hello everybody. Good to see you all. We have a lot of people in the chat already. Mark Davis, Lillis, Daniel Hutchison, Anita Handjob, Danny B, Alien Tenno, it's Timmy, Stu, Mark Davis, a lot of familiar faces. And with us today, we have the one and only Jay Daly. How are you, my friend? Can you read me? Okay. Having problem with the sound. While you try to fix the sound, I will say hello to my friend Stu Woolley. How are you, my friend?
Excellence, old friends. Excellence. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You know, it's almost spring in Norway. There's not much snow left, and now the sun is coming back, and soon we have midnight sun.
It's beautiful here as well, to be fair. Absolutely stunning. Loads of us in the chat again. The mighty Tipton Town were victorious on the weekend. The mighty Tipton Town are back. We've got one more game against Droitwich away this coming week, and then I can hang the boots up temporarily for a week or two, just to rest my limbs. But we're back on winning ways, which was good. So we beat a good team, but we're back to winning ways. So I'm really pleased about that. Really pleased.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. Back on winning ways. But are you going to continue, or are you going to put your boot up on the top of the shelf after this season?
There is no retirement in these legs. As Georgie Best likes to say, the Tipton Hammer will be back out next season. Don't you worry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or it might actually be, Georgie, if he's in, it might actually be the Tipton Zimmer frame next year. But the Tipton Hammer will continue to go. So I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'll get some footage for you for next Monday for that weekend, so I can show you who the lads are, tell you a bit about us, and also next Monday, Jarvis, and anyone, Tom, anyone in the chat, really. I think it'd be nice to talk about the way that football's changed over the years. Alien Tenno, I know, will be bang up for this conversation. And whether we actually like modern day football as to when it was when we all started. Or do we love the game as much today as we did when we first pulled on our terrible trainers and our terrible football boots back at the tender age of 5 to 4 or 3, and you kicked your ball for the first time. You try and remember what it was that actually got you going, and I'm wondering whether or not that fire still burns today with where we've seen football evolve. I think it would make an interesting debate. I don't know what the VAR room think, but I think we'll all see it differently. But it'd be good to see. Good to see you again, Tom. Hope you're well, old friend.
Yeah. Likewise, as always, guys. Jarvis, Stu, everybody in the chat, all the regulars, everybody. Hope everyone's had a good week, decent week. And let's talk football, guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we are supposed to do now. We had a game yesterday. Let's just dig into it because I think Jay Daly has some technical issues. He will probably join us as soon as he have figured that out. But we can just deep dive into the game yesterday because we played Arsenal. We lost 1-0, but I think people are not too disappointed by the performance, the result. That's something to be disappointed about. But the performance, we saw something else, something different we haven't seen in a long time in this Ten Hag side. We actually played football. We looked like a football team for once. So I don't know who want to go first, Stu or Tom.
I'll let Tom take this.
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, look, I think as much as we can probably praise Arsenal for the season that they've had and they've took it, down to the wire, I'll be very, honest. I don't think there were anything special yesterday. I really don't. I think, I take, for example, the game when we beat them 3-1 last season. I think they played better when they lost to us last season than they've actually won this season. Collectively, anyway. Defensively, Arsenal, they're a stalwart. They are solid at the back. There's no gaps. There's no, massive, spaces in behind. The midfield's connected. It's a proper shape. It's a proper system that you went up against. We see this, we've seen this in this league for 3-4 years with Liverpool and City. They have that system and that shape. There's no gaps. There's hardly any space to manoeuvre in. Look, in the first half, I thought for the first 20 minutes, I thought that we were massively in that game for the chances that we had. And when we started playing the balls a bit more direct to Højlund, but we sort of angled the passes straight between the centre halves. The thing with Arsenal is when they defend, they don't have Gabriel and Saliba very well connected in the middle. They're not together. They're closer to either or of their fullbacks than they are actually the centre halves. And there's a massive gap that you can play straight through down the middle of Arsenal when Rice isn't at DM and he doesn't drop a bit further down. There is that space in between. Now, Højlund, for all his credit, he did identify that problem. And I saw in that first 20-minute period, he tried playing 2 or 3 balls through that little middle. One of them ended up coming off and he got in a bit of space and he couldn't necessarily do much in the space when Arsenal got back. But the one thing that I think we can take collectively from yesterday was it was a better performance than what we've seen, but it was a better performance based upon the manager has adapted to play with. Effectively, he's adapted to what he's got. He can't play transitional football. He can't do whatever he wanted to do with this season. He can't do it because he said that he doesn't have the players for it. Okay, if you want to believe that excuse or not, that's fine. I've made my opinions on that very clear. And in terms of the quality drop-off, there's going to be a quality drop-off, absolutely. But yesterday, for me, there's been 2 games in particular season where in midfield, I thought the midfield in particular, it wasn't open and it wasn't blown away and it wasn't overloaded like we've seen in many games this season, was yesterday and at Anfield. And in those 2 games, Bruno Fernandes didn't actually play. Now, for all Bruno Fernandes plaudits in the final third and creativity-wise, we lacked creativity yesterday, but as a unit in midfield, I think there was a balance there. Amrabat and Kobe, they played together at that Anfield game, played quite well. Put them again together yesterday, I thought they played quite well. We didn't get played through in midfield, and I don't think it was sort of a bully boy performance from Arsenal. I didn't think they stuck it on us. I've seen Arsenal play a lot better football than that this season, for me personally, but they needed to come and just win. It didn't matter how they won; they needed to win. They didn't want to fight. They didn't need to play any fancy football. Make it difficult for themselves. Get a goal and sit in. That's all that they needed to do because we in the final third were useless. We are toothless. We don't have clinical finishers. We don't. -4 goal difference tells you that. Whether you want to argue it from the defensive point of view or not, Defensively, we've been shocking this season, but we don't score enough goals anyway. That's a fact. And individually yesterday, I thought Ahmad in particular was brilliant. I thought he took his chance when he got given it for the point of time that he was on the field. Very direct, the run. Arsenal, they was absolutely panicking when he had a direct run at Tomiyasu one-on-one. Tomiyasu, he didn't like it when Ahmad come inside on that left foot. Did not like it at all. And there was that one little picture image where he got into the box, but the one thing that Arsenal did was they shut off every single angle that he could have got a shot off or a pass off. So he just had to go directly through them. And they ended up winning the ball back. But they got 3 players around him. The one thing with us, especially in the defensive structure, is when we have a player who's maybe in a one-on-one situation, we don't cover for them. You don't have that backup. Arsenal yesterday, I saw it when we put the ball into the box to Højlund in particular. It was more second half. When we tried to get the ball into the box for Højlund and he had the ball up, when he had Saliba, when he was back into Saliba, you had Rice coming over and covering. You had Ben White coming over and covering. They almost boxed him in. So he couldn't play out. There was nobody to play out to. There's no space. And that's called suffocation in football. Suffocation in football, it's the worst thing that you can do. You've got a player in the back of you. You've got a player at the left side and the right side. You've got nowhere to go. You can't boot the ball out unless you boot it out. So for us anyway, in particular, I thought Dalot played well. I thought Amrabat in midfield was quite decent. I thought there was a lot more fight from the players yesterday. That's one thing that I will say. There was a lot more fight and desire. And, it's not the stellar performance because in the attacking third, I thought it was very shocking. But we didn't get embarrassed. That's the one thing that I've shown from this point and from the end of the season. I didn't want us to get embarrassed in games. But from what I've seen anyway, in particular, this way of playing that we've played in this one game, he could have done this weeks ago. Weeks and weeks ago. And you know something, guys? If it forfeits us losing 4-0 at Palace and we lose 1-0, we're not going to be that bothered. It's fine margins in football. But what we did last season was we played very similar to how we did yesterday, but a lot of the forward players was on form last season. So they created 3 or 4 chances through individual quality and they scored goals last season. Marcus Rashford's goal tally tells you that for last season. Garnacho's breakthrough season tells you that. So it can be done. I knew we could play this kind of way. It was whether the manager was prepared to abandon what his plans were for this season just to make up effectively for the bad performances that we've seen. But playing this way, guys, we've got nothing to play for in the Premier League anyway. So tomorrow when, Newcastle and the other games at Brighton is irrelevant. If you go like this against City, I might give us 60-40 odds. 60-40 odds because it's a way to play against City because we didn't get embarrassed against Arsenal. But for another way, anyway, if you're not going to be able to score goals, you won't beat Manchester City in that cup final. It's as simple as that. But for all our individual brilliance, collectively up the field, we need to book his ideas up. That's all that I'm going to say anyway. But I thought individually from certain injuries, Dalot, Amrabat, Ahmad, I thought was quite okay. And the one thing that I saw different from yesterday that I haven't seen for the rest of the season is we just didn't get played through midfield. There wasn't that space. There wasn't that sort of freedom for Odegaard to have a sort of free game that we've seen other teams have this season. There wasn't that space as that Elise had and Eze had when we played Palace the week prior. So I see that he's tweaked with it, and whether he sticks with it or not, we're going to have to see. But if he wants to hope and pray against Manchester City, he's got to play that way, irrespective of injuries or players coming back.
Sounds good. What's your take on the game, Stu? We heard Tom is not 100% happy, but he sees improvements. So I'll take the positives, Tom.
It kind of it boiled down to the my favourite word, interesting. So the game was very interesting. We'll get to Rushmano's wonderful gesture in a moment. But yes, it boiled down to interesting. I think there were elements of the game that did show a lot of improvement on our control of the game. But I kind of agree with Tom. I'm not really sure Arsenal turned up to their full effect. And I think a more vibrant Arsenal that you have seen in patches this season would have made us pay a bit more. But, you can only play what's in front of you at any given time and any given minute in a game of football. And that's why I thought the game was quite interesting, in as much as Ten Hag tried something, the players tried something, and to an extent, when you look at it from face value, it did kind of work. I mean, Amrabat did shore up the middle. We didn't get, Tom's right, we didn't get pushed to the middle at all. Ødegaard was relatively non-existent, really, in an edge-cutting way. I didn't think that we, as much as Arsenal had control of the play in a lot of circumstances, the penetration side of it I didn't think was brilliant from Arsenal. So I don't really know where it leaves us, really. There are concerns that whatever happens when we go to Wembley, a bigger pitch against a passing team, we're going to get, cut open. But I think if maybe Ten Hag looks at Amrabat and says, you're my man now for the next couple of games, you are going to start at Wembley, and says the same to Ahmad, depending on what's happening with Rashford. Casemiro, we know, was at fault again for the goal, but can you really blame him? He's not really a centre half. Yes, he's played there in the past, but he's not a centre half. Is there an argument to push Amrabat, Mainu, and Casemiro in there? And dare I say it, omit Bruno. But if you do omit Bruno, although, I think I think Tom was right. We've played better without him because we've had to play into a different type of situation. We've had to utilise the players. And I've always said this in football. You always want your best players around you, but do the best players always, fit the right game at the right time? And the question would be zero. They don't. Sometimes as a manager, you've got to look at it and say, right, well, Bruno's fan favourite, my best player, captain. Yeah, he's got to start. But without him, he's had to make a decision, hasn't he? Ten Hag's had to make a decision, and the team have had to make a decision on what they do and how they go about their task. And, 1-0 doesn't sound bad. Like I said, the game was interesting in as much as we showed something. We showed that fight. Do we do the same against Newcastle on Wednesday? I would say yes. Do we do then I can't remember our final games against now. Remind me.
Brighton.
Brighton
away, isn't it? Yeah. Do we do the same against Brighton away? Yes. And then we've got to take that into City. So I think he's found this formula now, and he's got to utilise this formula. If on Wednesday you see the re-emergence of Bruno, Rashford, etc., Martinez, then you've got to completely change what you've started to build and go back to normal. It's a bit like City at home. City away for the first half. We were excellent. The second half, we reverted to type and got beat. We can't afford to do this again. So if he thinks he's found a way, then he's got to go with this way. Even if we lose on Wednesday and on Sunday, it's Sunday, isn't it? Because it's the last game on Sunday. Still play this way until we get to the cup final. And then really give City something to worry about. Because as much as I agree, I think it was decent performance, we're still nowhere near City, Liverpool. I mean, if you've been watching the first half of the Villa-Liverpool match today, we're light years behind them. We're light years behind Villa. Chelsea have started to play. They've started to come good. We're likely to finish the season in 8th, aren't we?
Yes. Looks like it at the moment, yeah.
So, a tepid response from me. Tepid.
Yeah, I think you're touching on a couple of vital things too. But for me, one of the things I can see, because I've been speaking about this all season long, control versus chaos, and when we played yesterday, we were more in control in our play. But I speak a lot about build up, because when you build up, when you're in possession, it's a kind of a fixed play, and you know what to do. And we did something different yesterday that I haven't seen in a while. We played almost in a 3-4-3 formation. I can add. I have a little presentation. I can add and just show you, and we can go through it almost frame by frame, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong. I wanted Jay to be a part of this, but he has some problems, technical problems. Hopefully he will come on, but he has something wrong with his Wi-Fi. So if anyone knows Jay, go to his house, help him connect with his Wi-Fi. So here you see, guys, this is the build-up. I don't know if you see my marker here. But Onana has the ball. We lined up in a 4-2-3-1. We have almost 4 lines. Arsenal with Havertz, Ødegaard in the middle. They are playing in the square. You see here is a square with Rice, Partey, Havertz, and Ødegaard. So if, for example, Casemiro gets the ball, he can't pass the ball to Manu because Ødegaard also press Casemiro, but he blocks the passing lane. And the same with Evans and Havertz. So this is basically the element of a box midfield. But what we did yesterday was when we tried to play out, when Casemiro, for example, got the ball, he just bounced back to Onana, and Amrabat, you see here, he will drop deep. And when he dropped deep, the shape changed. So now we basically in a 3-4-3 formation. And what happened? Our fullbacks pushed Saka and Trossard way back on the pitch. Evans and Casemiro split up, and Amrabat is in the middle. And the good thing when Amrabat is in the middle, Ødegaard and Havertz, they can't press directly at Amrabat because they have to split up. And then it opens up in the middle, so you can pass the ball into the middle. So if you see here, when we did it, Amrabat used Kobe Manu. And when Manu has the ball, he attracts a lot of players, but he plays the easy bounce pass. He didn't try to turn on the half turn, into the guy, make it difficult. Almost easy, played it back to Amrabat. Amrabat has time, and then we can utilize it out to the fullbacks who are going wide, or the center backs. And you also see our shape. We attacked with almost 5 or 6 here because we pushed up really high. And it made it difficult for Arsenal to press high, basically. So our formation yesterday with our build-up made us have more control. And basically, you see us coming up with a lot of people. But Amad Diallo, he roamed around from his right winger more as a number 10. He inverted a lot and was the extra man, because when I talk about football, I talk about the 5 attacking lanes. You have Trossard, you have the outer lane, inner lane, central, and so we have 5 lanes here, if you see. And these are the lanes Ten Hag always attack, and this is the 3-1-6 basically. So now you see we have 3 in the back, 1, 5 here, and the extra man roaming around with Amad Diallo. So this was what we were trying to do. So the 3-1-6 actually worked yesterday against, because our build-up play was in control. And what I also saw was we made a lot of, I would say, easy bounce passes to attract press, and then we played back into the same area again.
Yeah.
We see here Manu, for example, pushing it back, attracts a position, and then you get the ball. So this is basically what I saw yesterday, and it was very interesting to see how we could be in control. So I'm interested if you guys saw this yesterday or.
I did. Yeah, I did. The interesting thing, though, if you were to put that back up and you go back to the very first slide, there's a more simpler and easier way out than dragging Casemiro in. So if you go back to the original setup with the box,
yeah,
right, the very first slide,
yeah. Here is the box. We have the box. We have the 4 midfielders, 4
yeah,
center defenders.
yeah. And the interesting thing, when when Casemiro takes it and he drops it back. Casemiro is to go to his left. If he's facing, or if he goes to, instead of facing an on, he goes to his left. So drop him down to his left. Then Maino spins 4 yards. We've got a direct link in. Diallo to sprint along the side. Quick 1-2 with Diallo, and we're up the pitch a lot quicker than the way that we did. It's massively interesting how pairs of eyes view football. That's what I love about football the most. This is the best part of football, because you can see an expert coach or an expert in the game, has been in the game for 20, 25 years, and yet my eye's drawn to a completely different way of getting out on fewer passes. It's unbelievable. That's the beauty of football. When you go back actually to that final slide, go back to that very final slide when we've got 6 on, that one there. Go back, start to play that through. Hold it there. So it goes back to Dallo instead of reverse pass out to, is that Wamba? No, that's not Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, look at the space. Look at the space he could penetrate. He's got, we've chosen, as it probably worked out, we've chosen the wrong way. But again, my eyes, when you were telling me that, my eye was drawn to the space. They're going back to Dallo. I'd have flipped it to Wan-Bissaka. He can pelt 2 yards. He's going to have to draw the defender, and we're in behind. But again, that's just what my eyes see.
Yeah.
That's why I love football.
Yeah.
Well, I love
But
it.
I guess for me, this is just an example. There's different ways to do it, but basically we played it simple, as the Serbians also do. These players never goes on the half turn with the ball with pressure in their back. They always play the bounce pass to
what Casemiro was doing.
Just let the ball flow, in
what
a way.
Casemiro was doing, Jarvis. Mino drops it into him. Casemiro is just facing the way he plays. That's no problem, because what we taught when we were kids, play the way you face him. All the time.
Whichever way how we face. Are we watching Sky Sports? We saw all this technology.
But if he flipped his head to the left, out to Wan-Bissaka, we're 3/4 of the way up the pitch, aren't we?
Yeah.
Unopposed. But that's why I people can talk about, and we talk about taxing, we talk about this and we talk about that. The actual description you were talking about is right. That was our control play. But if they, when Ten Hag looks at that and looks at what you just said, fucking hell, he'd be scratching his head. Why the fuck haven't I seen that? Yeah. But that's where my eyes took me, and that's why I love football.
Yeah, that's why I see a lot of people, for example, Simon Davis comes in. He say, I thought United did good, but Arsenal didn't put in third gear for me. And basically that's, I think a lot of people feel the same. But you got to remember how we set up. We made it difficult for Arsenal, because Arsenal wanted to press us high. But we made it difficult because Amrabat is centrally with the ball. You can't choose side when you press. So you can't compact all your team on one side or the other in the press play. So it made it much more easier with Amrabat. And Amrabat is actually good by distributing the ball, both left and right. That's one of his strengths, just recycling the ball and make it like in a way flow. So yesterday was in a way, there's two things. I talk about flow, and flow is like the ball, and rhythm is like the whole of the team. So it was like a perfect harmony in flow and rhythm, I would say, yesterday. And this is what I would like to see more of. I haven't seen it since, I would say, the Crystal Palace game, the League Cup game. You remember, that's long time ago. And we struggle, trying to play.
Your observations are 100%. Yeah, everything you've just shown, is pretty much what Tom was discussing and talking about. That's why I found the game really interesting. When you actually look at the game as a whole through analytics, rather than, and I don't like analytics a lot. I don't like stats, that, Jarvis. I just like the way the game falls. But this is why I always say, and I kind of have this argument a little bit about coaching. To an extent, there's only so much knowledge you can impart into players, and you're talking about set up perfectly there. Tom spoke about it perfectly, at the beginning. But that's the the beauty of evolution and football, the way that it evolves, you know. And I'm also thinking, and if I'm watching this game back this morning, you know, when you come in for your morning brief and you're watching the game back, and I'm thinking, Anana, why aren't you fucking communicating to Casemiro? Just hold it, flip it to Wan-Bissaka and he's away. Or, yeah, you know, Casemiro come in and I'll whip it round you and I'll go straight to Anana's feet. So instead of going 5 yards, I'm going 25 yards. And then Dalot just get round him, because Dalot should be able to see what's happening. Again, I come back to it. I've got this buzz now because I can see different things, you know, about. Yeah. We've all done it, and we all three of us tonight have seen different things, and this is why you can coach to a limit. You really can. And people will have a go at me for it. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. But you can coach to a limit. The rest is brains. The rest is being able to see what's going on as it evolves in front of you. Your comments about Ødegaard and Havertz were absolutely right. But when Amrabat did eventually take the ball, look how, although they couldn't close him particularly, look how close they did. And if Evans at the very beginning had squeezed in with Casemiro and then pushed him, we would have been gone. We'd have been gone. But again, it's just a different version. It's just a different. What do you think, Tom, on that?
Oh, Tom is on the phone, so it's just me now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I saw yesterday, we play good when we play out, especially because we have Manu. Manu is good with his back against the opposite goal, and he knows how to play the ball easily and is with good technique. But he can also dribble. He can turn with the ball when he have the space. He can turn when it's no danger, and he actually had a lot of dribbles yesterday, and he got himself out of tight spaces. And this is Manu. The problem I see in our midfield yesterday, I would say McTominay had a good game, but you can see his deficiencies a lot of the times, especially when he is the one who needs to drop down, because sometimes the number 10 needs to drop down because the opposition just sniff out. They understand what we are trying to do, so they mark up our number 6 and number 8. So yesterday, when the times when McTominay tried to go deep, he doesn't scout properly. He can look 3 times over his right shoulder and drop down to receive the ball, but end up losing it because the defender comes in from the left. You know, he doesn't scout both ways. He's not aware of his space, and this is a big problem. And that's why, you know, a player like McTominay, I love him as a player. You know, always gives everything for Man United, always available. You know, his attitude is perfect, but he lacks a lot when it comes to footballing knowledge, spatial awareness, technique, close control, and all of this. So what do you think, Stu? Should we keep McTominay on for next season, or could he be a part of this team if we, let's say, we will move on to this possession-based football, and this will be Ten Hag's signature?
He can't play possession-based football, Jarvis. Everything you said there is quite true. If you want somebody to come in and maybe get us a goal, which, to be fair to the lad, he's proven, hasn't he, this season, he'll come in and score some important goals, and fair enough. That works really, really well. I think if you are looking at possession-based football, it's going to be very, very difficult. You need somebody who can take the ball, hold it, maybe shrug off a challenge or two, maybe 2, 3, 4 yards, and then get you passing about, and then walk into the space, try and find the space, but understand where that space is. And it's not an easy task. Zinedine Zidane used to make it look easy. Manu makes it look easy. But what's happening is when the ball's coming into them, although they're wrestling, they're doing this, they're doing that. Oh, sorry, Rashmano. Sorry. Yes, I'm almost done. Zidane and Manu are already 2, 3, 4 yards up the road with it in their brains. So when they take it and they can manage to get away with it, they know where they're going. They know the trajectory of where they're going because they've seen, Jarvis, where the space is. Oh, that's the difference. That's where you get a possession-based game. If I'm hearing right, and maybe Mick, if he comes in, can tell us what's happening with Frankie de Jong in this Barcelona. It's quite precarious again for them, isn't it? I'm not a de Jong fan. Everybody knows this. I'm not going to. But I get where De Jong would add to what Ten Hag wants to do. Now,
Yeah.
Tom's talked about it in the past, and I get that. I see what he would want him to do, and that would be interesting. I'll get the shades, Jarvis. You get your.
Yeah, I have a problem because I can't go scroll back to find all the new members.
Oh, right.
Something wrong with my Mick. Can you come in and read out all the new members? 20 of them. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Yep, Mick is in the background. He can come in and read the new members.
Am I here?
Yes.
I'm on standby. Yeah. First and foremost, we have a message for Jay. He apologized. He got hijacked by the Glazers, and he tried and huffed and puffed. The Wi-Fi was worse than McDonald's or Old Trafford Wi-Fi, so he cannot get on, but he promised to send a video with his thoughts. And big up for Rush Mano for gifting the memberships. Just need to find them. Where the hell did they go? I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the chat. Jesus Christ, guys. Bear with me.
So many comments,
Yeah, there's so many comments, and I just have to scroll up because I was trying to solve the crisis situation and live chat, all messages. Maybe.
Well.
Yes, here we go. Fun funding. Yep. Wow. Hey, technology today, guys. Yeah. Crikey, man. Crikey, bear with me. You can continue.
Yeah, we can continue. So Tom, I can follow up on Stu's question. Should we keep McTominay, or do you see a place for him in the next season, even if Ten Hag stays or not?
Personally, not for me. I think the guys had a good long run-in with many different coaches, but the only coach that I can really emphasise that he was comfortable with, but he also suited playing that sort of way, was under Mourinho. And the reason why I think he suited under Mourinho was Mourinho's midfielders, he didn't have anybody that was mobile in midfield. We had, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had Matic, Herrera, who was a bit of a box-to-box, but he lacked the pace to get about the pitch. And then you had McTominay, who was like the young, bright kid coming up through the ranks.
Pogba and Fellaini too.
Yeah, well, he had Fellaini as well too. But that's what I'm saying. He was a different sort of midfielder that he had in that time. And with the way that Mourinho suited, where he wanted static players who could almost be a guarding shield in front of the back four, McTominay was almost the object player who he didn't fit that model. But he liked something in him as a kid. He liked the personality, the character. He got about the pitch. You know, he had the legs to run up and down the pitch 90 minutes and stick a couple of challenges and stick it on players. It was that sort of wild card player that he could rely on when he needed to use him. And to be honest with you, under Mourinho, I think he was the only highlight, especially in that final season with Mourinho anyway. I think he was the only highlight player that I could really list off of anyway. But I think even through with Ollie and now with Ten Hag, the one thing that I can see with McTominay is if you're in the 90th minute and it's squeaky bum time, you need a body in the box. That's the only thing that I'd probably put him down with and put him on with. But I think when I look at maybe the bigger picture with it and everything, I do think the market out there for midfielders in particular anyway is a lot better. There's a lot better quality midfielders out there that you can get with a decent wedge of money for McTominay. Plus, again, he's a youth player, so towards FFP's a good manoeuvrable player as well. And at the end of the day, I think when you guys have just said there, if he wants to play possession-based football or like the new structures coming in place and saying that any manager that they bring in, whether it's Ten Hag or if it's somebody else, they have to play this way that we want to play. And if you can't come in and coach that way or emphasise that, either you won't have the job or you won't stay in the job. It's as simple as that. So if he does go down that road and this football that they want, which is like a control-based football, they want to dictate play, I fail to see where McTominay is going to fit into that plans. The only thing, to be honest with you guys, and it's a little bit maybe of a stereotype, the only thing that I think gets him by maybe is he's a good character. You look at him, he's a decent lad. He'll stick a tackle in for you. He'll get about the pitch. But his abilities at high level football is very limited. And for me, if I look at a Premier League winning Man United team, potentially maybe if we build one in a couple of years' time to challenge for it, and if you go to a Champions League final, I don't see Scott McTominay in the starting lineup. And for me, I want players who are going to sit on the bench who are good enough to play for the starting 11. And that if they come in as a like-for-like replacement, are going to bring something to the team. And at high-level football, I think he's going to struggle. And if we're wanting to go places, I think McTominay is one of those bags you need to get off the carousel and not take with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with what you're saying, and I also agree with you, Tom. And the only problem
Read all
is
new members, Jarvis. Anyway.
Yeah, Mick will. Thank you, Jarle Malmin.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a technical
God
problem,
save
so
her.
thank you for Jarle for saving our day, and thank you Rushmano for always being there, gifting 20 memberships. Stu got gifted a membership. Roger Morgan, Sim, as you can see. Nathan, Nutty, I can't even read it. Will Manchester United, Jack Hoff, Tracy B, Steve Whitaker.
Mick,
What?
Read Jack Hoff again.
I will not fall for that. Fuck off. Cooper Andy was gifted Jackson, Dazed, Pigtails 11, X, Mason with Abdullah Irwan, and Andrew Brown and Ilario Pastori. So big up, welcome to the family, and I will not jack off.
There's some more as well, Mick.
We have hand jobs, we have Myth Hunter, we have jack offs, and
Admiral Drax got those are the final ones, Mick. I just jack off, brilliant. I love it.
yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome. Hang on a second. I went try. I have problems. Jay just sent a 5-minute long video file because he couldn't participate, so he sent us a message. So I'm trying to sort of upload it here, guys. Hang on a second. Bear with us. It's not. We're having some technical issues. Jesus. What if I forward it to you, Jarvis? Can you then play it?
I can try, I can't promise anything, but I can try. I just want to bring out this comment. Yeah, love your channels, guys. People having conversations and respectable debates rather than shouting and screaming all the time. And yeah, thank you, Grace, for noticing. This is what Jarvis's Corner is all about. It's about football first, and not about having the strongest opinion. It's about learning and developing and understanding. So thank you, Grace. It's fantastic feedback to get. Yeah, now I got your video. So Mick, take it from here. I will try to fix the video.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I really wasn't supposed to be here. It's been a very, very busy day. I've been listening in. I've been trying to help Jay Daly. It's hard when you're remote, but just wanted to take this opportunity to thank each and every one, the mods, the people that tune in for real Manchester United content. And I know the season hasn't been, easy to follow. We had so much things going on off the pitch and on the pitch, but just proud of this community, proud of the panel members, Tom, Stewie, Jarvis, Mark Nurse, everyone that's been part of this, and even Jay Daly. And to press record here after a loss and after this draw season, it's also part of your mental health, right? So even yesterday, I did a solo match reaction, and I felt like, I saw something different in this team that we can sort of take forward in terms of what you guys were saying was more of a possession-based football. It was a totally different team, and I thought that possession in the midfield was superb. Not having Bruno to be wasteful on the ball, not even having Rashford on the wing. I think it was something really fresh with Ahmad in there as well. And also regarding Amrabat, because I think that first time we saw Amrabat being given his start as a natural number 6, and that made a difference. I thought, he allowed us to he allowed Kobe Mainoo to play his game, his best game, to go more forward, but also he allowed a protection in the back. So for me, Ahmad was amazing. I want to see more of Ahmad, and I want to see more Amrabat. And I posed the question in your stream yesterday with the Mr. Structure Nuruddin. we loaned him for 8 million. That was in no obligation to buy. But if we want to buy him, the cost would be 18 million euros. So I'll post the question back to you guys. Would you take him for 18 million euros as a squad player, as a rotational player, barring the Casemiro most likely is going to Saudi? But we need to recruit a better number 6 as well, because currently we don't have a number 6.
True.
It's a difficult one, isn't it, that one, Tom? I think it's a difficult one because there's been patches where, everybody's been excited by his play. Yesterday was a reminder, I think, of the qualities that he has as a player. So if you did sign him for 18 mil, which you could probably get him for 12 then based on that, then it would be a really good addition to the squad, providing he was under the understanding that he would be a squad player and that Polinia, who we should be going out and buying, would come in as number 1, so to speak, in that position.
Yeah.
I think he's another one that potentially could have been fitter this season. I'm so glad Rooney mentioned what he mentioned yesterday, because Jarvis will tell you, I've been banging on about this for years, haven't I, Jarvis? About players and injuries and a weakness and mentality about it. It's nothing. You've heard me as well, haven't you, Tom? It's nothing new from me. So I was glad to see that. And I think that if we could get a fit Amrabat, then he would be a good value at 12 million for sure.
I'd keep him, but I'd only keep him under the pretenses of you get rid of McTominay. That's the only reason why I'd keep hold of him, because if you're going to have a player, like Stu said, sit on the bench, and you need to, like I was saying before when I used the McTominay analogy with squeaky bum time, if you need a goal, if you need to keep the game shut and shut the door on it, Amrabat, I think, is a good option to bring off of the bench to do that. If you want to solidify your defence, put a stone wall in front of them. The one thing that Amrabat gives you in comparison to what Casemiro gives you, Casemiro and Amrabat are almost the opposite number 6s. Casemiro's that stalwart, strong defence, strong sort of defensive unit player, lunges into tackles, wins the ball back for you brilliantly. Amrabat's almost, he can fly into tackles. I don't think he's as an aggressive player, but he's more disciplined in terms of I think Casemiro reads the game a lot better, but Amrabat can cover the spaces a lot better where the gaps are. He can plug the gaps that are in your team when he shifts along the line. Like Stu said, for 18 million, I don't think it's a bad deal. But if you get rid of McTominay, I wouldn't replace him with Amrabat, if that makes any sense. I'd keep Amrabat and the pretense you get rid of McTominay. But like you guys said, we need a starting number 6. Somebody who's young, maybe good on the eye, can distribute with the ball and everything. Stu made very clear with De Jong, and to be honest with you, I'm starting to change my opinion on him a little bit, slightly based upon his injury record at the moment. It's not great. I don't think his fitness has been too great the last 2 years, personally. So, I don't know. Maybe we recruit closer to home in the Premier League. You saw the kid at Palace, Wharton. I thought was a decent player as well. The players out there, you've seen it with what Chelsea did, for example. They plucked a player from the youth ranks in Parma with City. So, I look at that and I think there's a model out there that you can go and get top young players to recruit into your team. It's just about finding them, but that's what this new structure is going to do, hopefully, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, guys, anyway.
Jarvis, get him in.
Oh, what's going on?
What's going on?
Oh, my God. Well, that's better. It's a bit late, but it's better.
Did you turbocharge it?
Yeah. Turbocharge it with nitro oxide. No.
Yeah, it needs a little USB connector, that, doesn't it? You can just put it on top. It's ready to go.
All right, Rushmeadow, legend, another 20 memberships. Jarvis, you got this, right?
No. I'm trying to figure out this J thing. I can't make it work.
I got it. I got you.
Okay, thank you.
I got you. So figure out the memberships. Read them out, please, if you can.
Okay. Here we have
Just
the
don't
new
get baited.
members.
Don't
20.
get baited now with the names. Watch your tongue.
Okay, I will go with the solo layout so people pay attention. Number 1, MILF Hunter. Yeah. Kareem Omjil. We have Rensin Rahim. Natisio.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Kevin Kidney. Present. Alan. Want to play. Antidote. Danny B. Stu MUFC. We have Chris McGlinchey, Dixon Mayeka, Boo, Sean, Ian McDonald, Lee Ham, JJ Okocha. Wow, what a player, JJ
Yes.
Okocha.
Mm.
And we have Nicholas Mattia, Lee Richard, Seon, and Strafford Gamer. That's 20. So thank you, Rushmano, and sorry for slating your name.
Welcome.
Yeah,
we have a special guest.
We have a special guest coming in, and this is a very special guest. We have, yeah. He's waving. I can see him. It's Steve here, all the way from USA, Newcastle. But we also have Jay Daly's small reaction. Should we let Steve in and just say hello to Steve?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't see him down there.
Yeah, he's down there. Jeez, he's there.
I didn't see
Hey,
him.
Steve.
What's up, fellas? What's good? What's good?
What's cooking?
Not
You
much.
can-
Sorry, I'm a bit late. I didn't know you were doing the what's it called, the stream. But I was watching I was doing the Fiorentina watch along. So yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. How y'all doing?
Cool. Yeah, I've been thinking because there's a Newcastle game coming up on Wednesday, so we can do a little preview on the Newcastle game. But first, we're not done with the first part of the show talking about the Arsenal United game. So chip in whenever you can, and if you have any comments on the things. We have spoken a little bit about the game, how we set up tactically. Ten Hag. We have spoken a little bit about McTominay and Amrabat. But for me, now I want to go to Stu because I want to talk a little bit about Højlund. And Højlund, we have been speaking about this a lot of times on Jarvis's Corner this season. Højlund's inability to hold up the defender. You know, we have been speaking about grabbing hold of his shirt, holding him tight, movement in the box and stuff like that. Do you see improvement from Højlund's game, or is he still in need of a mentor, a better, more experienced striker?
100% he needs a mentor. I've not, unfortunately, I think he's got the wherewithal in terms of the brain power to do it. He's just not doing it. And I think it's mainly down to a reluctance to get into the areas where he needs to be because he's not receiving the ball. And that's unfortunately it in a nutshell. When you actually look at his play within the box, he's not actually quite where he needs to be. And I'm quite surprised about that by a striker, by number 9. One of the things that you're taught is you rarely drift out to the 18-yard box. You always stay narrow and inverted, pretty much parallel with the 6-yard lines from both sides. That is your catchment area. So 12 yards to the goal line, within that 6-yard parameter is where you need to be. That's where you live. And so when we're out of possession, although some number 9s will come deep, you stay around the number 10 area. That's where you operate. And you operate that because you've got, for over 10 yards, you've got that 10-yard burst of pace that if you need to beat a defender, you've got enough yardage before you're penetrating the box. And then you've got the composure time, if you're in front of him, to be able to whip it around the keeper before he's down on top of you. That's number 1. Secondly, if you're playing on the shoulder of the defender, so if Højlund's backing into me, okay, that's absolutely fine. The defender, where his problems are at the moment, the defender's leaning back into him. So it's not even a wrestling match; it's just a leaning match. And as the defender will be able to kind of really push his back foot into the ground, it'll be a lot stronger, it'll be a lot more difficult for him to get around him. So interestingly enough, he's not learning that side of the game. So We could, and I've said this before, and nobody wants him. And Mick's made a point that we're likely to get Benjamin Sesko, which I think is a great addition to the team anyway. But
Yeah.
I would like Harry Kane in. I wanted him in the summer. We were never going to get him because of what negotiating with Levy, etc., etc., etc. He's not, he's had a brilliant season yet again. He scored 30 goals before he went out. He scored another 35, 36 goals, for Bayern Munich. The guy's a goal machine, but he knows how to operate within that parameter that I'm talking about. And that's the key to it. When Wayne Rooney, all the main young strikers, they've learned from the very, very best. They've had somebody in and around them that's able to tell them where they should be, why they should be there, and how to get there. Now, I spoke 6 months ago, if you remember, Jarvis, about the travelling distance between Rashford, Højlund, and Garnacho. The speed differential between all three. Is Garnacho and Rashford 2 yards quicker than Højlund? If so, then Højlund needs to set off 2 yards before Rashford and Garnacho. Ideally, we're not getting the right delivery for him. So one of the things Rashford and Garnacho don't do is deliver outside the box on the diagonal. If they were to do that, Højlund would have a much more easier task of trying to understand where the delivery is and where it should be. The other and final thing, I'll shut up now, he doesn't play centrally between the two centre halves. So when you look at McTominay's goal the other week, Højlund was at the front post instead of being on the penalty spot in and around the area to capitalise on the crossing ability of Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, or whoever at that particular time. So these are the key areas that aren't difficult to learn as a striker, which he should understand as a striker. I tell you, sorry, pal, I've never met you, and I don't know your name in Newcastle.
Oh, Steve, yeah.
Apologies, but if you look at
no worries.
If you look at what Isak does for you, more often than not, he'll play within the parameters as a 6 yard box, even if it's slightly outside the 25-yard box by the D. He plays within that area because he knows when you're going to score goals, that's the catchment area for the delivery of football.
Instinctually, he knows where can I get rebounds, where can I crash. He puts himself into positions where he's ready for anything,
and that's what Højlund's not doing. So, a brilliant, actually, a really good example is Joselu against Bayern Munich for Real Madrid. So Vinicius hits
Newcastle player.
Yeah, he has that shot. All right, he spills it. He's there, bang.
He continues his run.
Yeah, straight and bang.
Other strikers would have given up because even Dyer. Look at Dyer. He assumed that Neuer was going to get it, so he stopped running. He's like,
you never stop running.
Going to collect the ball. Joselu didn't stop though because he was like, you know what, he could drop it.
Yeah, and Josselu's second goal, he moved from left to right, but he didn't change his position. So he was moving from left to right to stay on side. As soon as the ball came in, bang, I'm there. If we can get Højlund to do that, I'd be a great forward coach, Jarvis. I'd be a great forward coach. If we could get Højlund, if we could get him to do that, we'll score goals. Sorry to elaborate too much.
No, it's good. Tom, are you here?
He's asleep.
He's asleep again.
You want my opinion on Højlund?
Yeah, did you see that game, Arsenal United game yesterday? Yeah. What's your thoughts on Højlund? Because for me, I think he's a little bit rough and raw on the edge. Yes, he has still a lot to learn. Still 21 years old and he's young, but he can come good. So, what's your opinion on yesterday's game and his performance?
I don't think Ten Hag is using him correctly, which is surprising. Because if you're interested in a player, surely you watch that player at that club. So I first saw Højlund 2 years ago. They were playing Sturm Graz were playing Champions League qualifiers, and for me, I've always watched Højlund, whether it was at Sturm Graz or Atalanta, two up top. He always had someone to play off of. He always had a creator, always in and around with him. They always establish good chemistry. They'd make good runs. He's a poacher. He doesn't really, there's just some certain players in any sport where they have a physique, they have a look to him, and you assume he's good in the air because he's 6 foot, whatever. He's big and strong because he looks big and strong. But they actually have different skill sets that you didn't think. Like, Isak, he's not like super quick, but he has long ass legs. And he's got a brain as well. But people assume, oh, wow, he's just a really good finisher. But it's like, so basically, there's more than meets the eye. For me, Højlund, he doesn't use his physicality because he's just not that kind of guy. He's a natural poacher. So the people asking for him to get involved in the play, that's not really his thing. I didn't see that at Atalanta because he always had a striker, Muriel, Zapata, whoever, that would do that other stuff and try to feed him.
Okay.
And he also didn't establish himself at Atalanta, which is why I wasn't really like a big fan of the move for him personally, because I feel like a lot of players nowadays, they move clubs from one club to the other before they've even spent a year at a club. It's just it's a case of too much too soon, I think, and I think Højlund is the case of that. So I do think you bought him, and this is the problem. This is where the recruitment comes into it. Why are you taking a chance on a $70 million striker when he hasn't even established himself at Atalanta? He's talented, but he's not. He hasn't mastered his craft at Atalanta. So for me, I worry about him because he does have this expectation, and there's some good qualities to him. I just also don't think Ten Hag is using him quite right. And to be honest, there's been a few things with Ten Hag this year with certain talented players he isn't getting the most out of. I'm not saying that Garnacho should be a 20-goal-a-season winger. I'm not saying that this guy is this and this guy's that. I just feel, and I'm not saying the players haven't fully applied themselves, which I think Højlund at times is a bit guilty of. Sometimes I saw it in that Man United Arsenal game. He's not making runs. It's not a case of he's making bad runs or he's offside or whatever. Sometimes it's just like static. He's not. When he was on his good run a few months ago, he was demanding the ball. I could see him like screaming at people, "Give me the ball! Give me the ball! I demand the ball! I'm doing this." That's gone at the moment, and that's concerning. So that's kind of my thoughts on Højlund. I like the kid, but there is a lot to work on that needs to be addressed for sure.
Interesting observation. This is interesting to hear about his games and the time in Italy, because I didn't see much from his time at the Atalanta. And he had short spells both in Sturm Graz and Atalanta. He didn't actually establish himself as the main striker in a way. And I think also you mentioned that I think it's one step too much. Coming up to United at the moment and expecting
70
to
mil.
perform. He needs time to adapt into the role, and we are in such a need of a second striker who can like mentor.
You literally need a second strike. You need to either Ten Hag, if he's your manager next season, which that wouldn't be the move I would make if I was Man United, but let's say it does happen. He needs to what's it called? He needs to rethink some of the formations and stuff like that. He needs to think about, okay, this guy, because for Denmark, Højlund is a different player. Yep. He scores a lot for Denmark, and they have creators. They have a good team. Not Jokeres, sorry. They've got like a good upcoming generation. Hjulmand in midfield. Frendrup. They've got some good players. They have Brighton, and they give him service. Yeah. So they've got good players there at Denmark. We see a different player there. So
yeah.
My thoughts.
Mick, I see you are waving your hand.
Yeah, yes, for a long time.
Not bad.
For a long time. Big up, Steve, and that just leads into my point that United was never supposed to get this for a long term. He's still young and raw, right? He's still learning his trades. Like he's playing against his back on his wall. His physicality is there. But I just want to touch base on that. We need to protect those youngsters as well. Like everyone read it today about the Lockhurst again, the toxic editor at Manchester United Evening Post, posting out that some leaks within the dressing rooms say that he's not good enough and therefore they don't want to pass the ball to him. And I was like, bullshit. Who are they? Instantly, it's Rashford that don't pass the ball to him. There's Anthony that doesn't get minutes, and there's Garnacho. At the end of the day, I think if you look at United's attacking line, they're not coached. Our final third missing the coaching, right? We look clueless, and they don't really feed them, right? So what's the point? That comes into a piece that I wrote for Australian News today that, of course, there's Benjamin Sesko, another raw young talent that is about 20 years of age, or you go for a more beast of an experienced striker, and it's heavily linked with the Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. But the crux is that his 100 million release clause. So he went from Coventry for 20 million. And these Portuguese, they like to do that. They're not mugs. They buy him cheap and they put a release clause for 100 million, 150. But strikers, guys, that is the going rate at the moment, right? Even if we paid 75 million for a Højlund, that is a prospective that could be worth more than 150. So his value has gone up. But if you are if you're looking for a striker that can finish goals, that can be that all-round player, you're looking at the 90, 100 million mark easily, right? So the question is, will United splash the cash? Isak, I love him to pieces, being Swedish. I've been following for quite a while. Victor Gyökeres is also Swedish. Followed him from Allsvenskan. So for me, it's all about the leaks, man. The leaks has to stop. And this, I'm pissed off with this Samuel Lockhurst. And speaking about leaks, guys, you saw yesterday regarding Old Trafford. It's a sad state of affairs. So if you don't mind, Jarvis, to share a screen. Bloody hell, 18 years the Glazers bought the club. Old Trafford was a state-of-the-art facility. They haven't done bugger all. They haven't not even invested nothing into it. Not even a lick of paint, not even fixing the roof. And yesterday when Sir Jim Ratcliffe was there, Ineos was there, everyone was there, the media was watching, and this happened. Luckily, it happened at the end of the game. But if you could see what happened, this is just appalling, right? Just pissing down. And the question is to you guys, the poll, this is beyond repairs. This is 100% beyond repairs. Do you reckon now this is crisis meeting that they are looking to build a new stadium? I mean,
awful.
Man,
you know what it is? It gets worse every time I see it.
Yeah, but it's not that we. My argument is for sentimental value, but we haven't really been good for the past 11 years, at least, So I think this is beyond repairs. And it's going down to the media box. It's going down even to the Arsenal's dressing room was leaking. It's gone worse, right?
Jarvis, didn't you say earlier, Nerd Inside, there's going to be mold?
Yeah, when it's
occupational health and safety, man. Occupational health and safety.
And it will be closed for health.
Shut it down
in a while, and it can't be safe. They can't sell tickets if you have a roof like that, It's
but you also
safe.
have debris falling off.
Yeah, bricks.
Right.
That could kill someone.
Yeah. So don't get delusional, fans. Don't forget who's the elephants in the room is the Glazers, right? Joe Glazer wasn't there, and Avram wasn't there. He was watching the women's team, right? The women's FA Cup team instead. But Ineos has a massive task, and of course, building a new stadium costs a lot of fund. Of course, we saw him mingling around with the next potential prime minister. They assembled, what's his name? The guy that built the Olympic Stadium as well. I can't really remember his name, but it's seriously embarrassing. And we got massively exposed yesterday with this. Imagine just coming there like in an Arsenal or any team, and fuck me, it's leaking water into your dressing room. Amateur, right? We had Jonathan Savage on last week, guys, if you remember, and he spoke about Charlie. He went from Manchester United to Reading, and Charlie spoke that he was surprised that Reading had better training facilities than a certain club. He got a lot of stick for it. So you got to ask the question, what the hell is wrong with Carrington? Why are people getting so many muscle strain injuries? Is this the pitch, or is it the scientific department? And I would say it's more the outdated scientific department. Because if the Glazers hasn't invested to do anything about Old Trafford, imagine they haven't done nothing at Carrington. So, question to you guys as a Manchester United fan: would you just scrap everything, and just move? Would you build the latest and greatest training facility, or would you update Carrington? What is the first priority?
Could I answer as a non-United fan because I don't got emotionally nothing in
Yeah,
it?
feel
It's
free.
short and simple and sweet. You got to start from scratch. You do, because you got to get with the times. It's a safety hazard. I didn't even know about the bricks falling down thing. That's something that happened in my hometown, Chicago, at Wrigley Field. They had to redevelop that whole place because there's literally pieces of roof falling off. There's another football stadium. The Washington Commanders have their stadium's a complete shithole. I'm surprised they haven't torn that down yet. But yeah, you got to. Because also, if you think about it, Old Trafford doesn't host Euro games. They don't host any big events. They host Man United games, and that's it. No concerts. So you guys have to get with the time. I understand from an emotional connection thing, but you have to move on for logical reasons that are beyond sentiment for me. And if when St. James's Park eventually comes like this, we're gonna have to do the same thing.
Steve-O, there's 2 points regarding the Glazers. They did the same thing with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They bribed to cancel. They threatened to move the whole lot to another state, another city, and Tampa Bay sponsored the whole stadium build, right? And point number 2 as well, that they hired the best surveys, architecture to look the possibility, and they just came back, knock it down, way past you. They let her to rust, the old lady, which is a shambles, right?
Yeah.
So the cost of just repairing everything will be over 1 billion.
Yeah.
So
at
sentimental values.
Stadium. Exactly. Sentimental, and that's the thing. That's how business don't work. And so, if you're sentimental in business, you go out of business.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, if they'd invested 200 million a year, which would have been quite easy to do on a project basis, Old Trafford have been up to scratch by now at way less than the 2 billion quid it's going to cost us to build and redevelop a new stadium.
Stu, you go to matches, everyone that goes, I haven't been there for 6 years, right? So it is the overall ambience, the overall atmosphere that you can't really transfer, right? There's a special feeling.
You can't. I've got my own seat. We're this year, Mick, 2024-25 will be our 30th season as a season ticket holder. So we're a platinum season ticket. And when I was over 25, you get a plaque for your seat. So my Uncle Brian took me when I was 7. So I had my Uncle Brian's name put on my seat because it was him that got me to Old Trafford. If we were to go to a new stadium, then that would mean nothing. Because my uncle has been, he's 85 now, and he took me when I was 7 years old. So the whole past. This is one of the reasons I want to talk about it next week, Jarvis. The evolution of football to the FIFA generation to what it used to be, and how So I really want to do that. So, it's quite sad. So from that point of view, would I have a season ticket for the new stadium? I don't know. My boy, who goes no more than me, would obviously want it because that's what he likes to do. But I don't know. So for me, tearing down Old Trafford, it's not just tearing down the stadium. You're tearing down a piece of my family as well, and that's tough to take. But I understand evolution. I understand that it goes, and that's why I get annoyed when everybody knows that a 200 million investment every year would have completely prevented
this situation.
Yeah. I have some latest news that I want to share from you that just came in on Twitter, saying the Manchester United have put plans to fix the leaking roof on hold until decision has been made on future of Old Trafford, according to Disco Mirror.
Why?
Because they're probably contemplating to build a hole. What's the point of fixing the roof if you're gonna move?
Because you're
So-
playing on Wednesday. That's why.
Yeah.
You're playing on
Wednesday.
Wednesday. If the season, look, no, in all seriousness, why are you putting it on hold? You have a game on Wednesday. What happens if it rains on Wednesday? What happens if a part of the roof falls off?
We'll be
bro?
playing water polo.
Yeah.
Just
It's a good question, genuine question. But the thing is, it will also raining in the away locker room. Did you see the pictures from
Yes.
Arsenal's locker room?
Yeah.
And this is a big problem, you know, when it's not even dry inside in the locker room on the roof. Yeah, you see people, I don't know, diving.
Yeah, this is water polo style, eh?
Yeah.
They flopping. To be fair, I would do something stupid. But bro, it's becoming a safety hazard at this point. Like,
It's
for me, and that's the biggest thing that you guys lost out on with the no Qatari sale. That's the biggest thing. They would have had this addressed. They would have probably torn down Carrington by now or built something new. The thing is with Ineos, they're not rich like that. You know, at Newcastle, we already have new training facilities. The women get paid like professionals, even though they start out in the 4th tier when they took us over. You know, they everything is being looked at in the club, and they're putting money into the club, the men's, women's, and the youth side as well, the academy. That's the biggest thing for me that you guys lost out on when you didn't get the Qataris. That if Ineos are serious, they shouldn't, I don't think they are serious, so they shouldn't have even bought any of your freaking club if they weren't going to fix the real things out off the pitch even. That's the thing for
But you
me.
know how they do it, right? So they you look at debt to equity. You know what I mean? They're still like, 1 billion in debt. So the way they're going to do it is to invest their own money and convert that into the B shares. Like, so whatever they invest in this stadium,
stock market.
they're going to claim B shares in it. And this is the way they're going to take over eventually. So we will fund the stadium. We'll find a way. We'll find sponsors. Like, it can be Mercedes Stadium, whatever. Jean-Claude Blanc did it with the Juventus as well.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is with the Ineos and the backing, effectively, if Ineos have got any sense, and they do, they'll put the money in through their funding, as Mick said, and it becomes an Ineos asset. It just adds on to the valuation of Ineos.
Yeah, but that proves the point. They're speaking to the Greater Manchester Council. They're speaking to the government. They're speaking to a lot of people. They have emergency meetings straight after to sort of urgently discuss, it's a great question what Rashmain is saying. Is Ineos serious? I'm skeptical. Well,
the
proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, we'll find out.
From the outside, I'm not going to take you guys serious unless I stop. It's great to talk, but for me, and I think for many of you guys, actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. So far, it's been a lot of PR, Steve.
Seriously? Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
So it's been a lot of PR, but we haven't seen a lot of action. Like, okay, we got your sporting director, supposedly, Dan Ashworth. Wilcox is there. It's the only one we know. The Barada starting, and they're talking about this new structure. It's all fine and dandy until we actually see the action being in place.
Yes.
So we as fans, we've been abused for the past 18 years. So we have the right to be suspicious. We have the right to sort of question it. And just
demand
because
the best as well.
Just
you
because
have the right to demand.
The rush to get in on Christmas Eve to get this announced in 25% so they can take the heat out of the Glazers. So far, they've been fronting and taking off a lot of heat from Joel and Avram Glazers. So you haven't seen much protest. It's been more focused on, the Ineos revolution, Brailsford, Ratcliffe, the marginal presents and stuff like that. So for me, they speak volumes in terms of what needs to be done, a proper rebuild. Like, a club is built from the top to the bottom. So you got to stop with the leaking roof on top, because we don't want
literally the top.
The top. Yeah. So the leaks needs to be fixed. Yeah. And then apparently there was news come out today as well by what's Mr. Bayern, what's his name? The reporter from the Bild.
Fletigo. Florian Fletigo.
No, not Florian Fletigo. The other one.
Raphael Hönig.
Christian Falk.
Christian Falky, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
He's basically saying that Bayern had all gone for 4 managers and all boomed out. So it looks like
Yeah, we
they're
got
going to
no
convince
pull.
Tuchel will stay. It looks like it.
Are you? No. Are you joking?
No,
Are you joking?
he tweeted out 1 hour ago. So
Yeah.
we'll find out. I will find out sooner or later.
I'm a Bayern fan, and I thought we were actually going to see the back of that fucking guy. Okay.
How amazing is that Tuchel will end up staying? Xavi has ended up staying at Barcelona.
I don't think he will. You know.
You don't think he will?
I don't think he will. If
So
he's got
Steve,
any
you're a Bayern fan. So what's your your thoughts on Tuchel?
Tuchel sucks. I'm sick of him. I hate watching the team play. I hate his man management, his in-game tactics, the overall vibe of the team. He's terrible. He has done nothing in his career since the Champions League final win. I don't care what anyone tells me. I don't care. I have lived through the Tuchel experience. I think he sucks. I think he's vastly overrated for something he did years ago. Just like how certain players, based off what they did a few years ago, are still rated, even though that they've done the square root of F all since then. That's exactly what Tuchel. No, I'm so pissed. I knew that Bayern wasn't going to be serious next year. I'm telling you right now, people, the Bundesliga is going to be Bayern are not winning Bundesliga next year. I guarantee it on my life. Someone else will. But that's my rant. But yeah, Tuchel sucks. And if any of your fans want him, they deserve whatever garbage that he brings. He sucks. He sucks. He sucks. I have to deal with him for another year.
Tom, what's your take on it?
What, on Tuchel?
Rubbish.
Yeah.
I think he's a bum. I don't like him. I'll be honest here. I don't like him. I think he talks a good game. He did the little flirting thing. He sat in Old Trafford under the lights, and Man United's a great football club. The fan base, the stadium, the atmosphere. It was almost a little bit of a put myself out there sort of thing. He wasn't really getting anywhere with Bayern. I understand what Steve's saying, but to be honest with you, when they actually appointed Tuchel, I didn't even think it was a good match anyway, because he was under a new sort of structuring at where was it now, at Chelsea, and as soon as that new structure come in place, and he wasn't prepared to fall in line with what they wanted, the arse sort of fell out of it, and the exact same things kind of happened at Bayern. They've spent, a decent amount of money. They've retained a couple of good players. Bringing in Harry Kane. You're bringing Harry Kane to more or less solidify Bundesliga, but also win the Champions League. And, it's not gone that way for him, albeit from whatever people want to say about the Real Madrid thingy. It was a shambles. They should have gone through, really, in the end. They held out for that long, but, some teams aren't that watertight when you go to atmospheres and grounds like the Bernabeu. It was very hard to keep your head above water. But no, I wouldn't bring Tuchel into this. I think it'd be jumping out of the fire and jumping back in the frying pan for me. I rate what he did at Chelsea, but I think under the circumstances.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Under the circumstances, the quality of the league was, poor to what it is today, and I think he would struggle.
It's
But
not
Tom,
even
if you-
that.
it-
Like, oh, sorry. Go on.
No, it's okay. Tom, if you just remember what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said in the interviews and, in their appointments, he basically said, we're only recruiting people. They're not egos, they're team players. They fit our ethos, and he does not fit that. He's fallen out with everyone, with the managers. So, with the top leaders. He fell out of Dortmund. He fell out PSG. Fell out Chelsea, and he fell out with Bayern. So they sacked him, and now they're begging him. So just want to add that,
Bayern München. This. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say real quick. This Bayern München banter era is gonna hit like fucking crack for the outside world. It's gonna hit like crack. We're the next Juve. We're the next Man United. We are the next Man United. Look at what happens when teams who dominate their league and that dominance ends. Look at where Lyon are nowadays. Look at where Juve are nowadays. Look at where Man United are nowadays. All three of those clubs were dominant at one point. domestically and in Europe, they would sometimes make a huge impression as well, because Europe is very hard to win. Bro, all three of those clubs are in the gut.
Yeah.
Different levels.
With Tuchel, if we're looking at it in a professional sense, I can understand why he might attract interest from clubs. He's worked with big players at Paris Saint-Germain, so he's had to manage big egos and big players. He's been in many big football clubs. He's worked in this league before, and he's been, I would say, to a certain extent, successful. He's been in the top four, and he won the Champions League. Fair enough. He's been successful in this league. He's got a decent remit, but the only issue is, I don't think he's a long-term manager that's going to, make any long-standing progressions. For me, my opinion on Tuchel is, I think he's a cup manager. I think you give him the FA Cup, you give him the Carabao Cup, the Champions League format. I think he might do quite well, but I don't think his teams are built stability-wise for 38 games and challenge for a league title. And that's, for me anyway, that's the primary aim for Manchester United. Should be top of the league. That's our aim. That should be our remit. Champions League, listen, Man United's got many big, European histories. Nobody will take away that 99 moment and the sort of legacy that will ingrain in football. You won't take those moments away. And, as much as it means to outdo other clubs and everything, Tuchel, I don't see him coming into this environment, him being that guy who fits what they want to do with this control and possession-based football. Even when you put the tactics board up, Jarvis, at the start of the stream, when you said that we was in that 3-4-3 formation at one point and stuff, it symbolises what he does, but he doesn't have the wing backs to play that way. And I don't necessarily think you can recruit players who are perfect. You've got to get lucky with wing backs. That's the issue. Or, as a coach, you have to develop a player to do that. And the best story that I can ever think of a player who was developed to play that way was what Conte did with Victor Moses at Chelsea. That was a proper development, a proper make that kid's career go somewhere. But no, I don't fancy Tuchel, not for Manchester United anyway. I think when shit hits the fan, and he will fall out with players. There's no doubt about that. When shit hits the fan, I think it will come crushing down on him completely. And he's not the sort of manager that goes out in glory. He goes out in an absolute, steaming fire. He did that at Chelsea. He's doing that at Bayern right now. And to be honest with you, with Bayern anyway, it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. If you even consider taking the guy back, it's embarrassing.
His talent ID is atrocious.
Yeah, and even in person, if I'm Thomas Tuchel, I look at it and think, you've tried to appoint 4 different coaches. They've all turned you down for whatever reason. So you're not good at selling this project. You didn't want me to stay because you've already wanted to part ways with me, and we have an agreement to do that. What do you really think I'm a mug and just going to turn my mind around and go somewhere? Listen, he'll get another top European job. I'm not going to dispute that.
I don't think he does.
He might get a Juve job or something like that. I just think his CV stacks up.
He could scam
at the top level.
He could scam his way to
he'll scam his way into another job.
We've all done it before. Lied on the resume. Man, that sounds like a little. when we were like teenagers or something. You'd probably do that again.
I mean, to be fair to him, if Chelsea come knocking and said, "Well, would you come back?" I honestly think he might go back. I think he wants to come back to this league because it's the only league that I think he's had massive success in. I don't think
he feels he has unfinished business. He said it to his agents and filled it out. I just want to share this, Jarvis, if that's okay, so everyone knows what we're talking about, by Christian Falk. And it was tweeted after 4 rejections of managers, Bayern discussed whether Thomas Tuchel may stay after all. Xabi Alonso said no, Julian Nagelsmann said no, Ralf Rangnick said no, and Oliver Glasner as well.
I'm going to throw up. Honestly.
There's 5 on that list, actually. They've missed one out, which was Lopetegui before he wanted to go to West Ham. But he chose West Ham, didn't he, anyway?
I know Christian Falk has a high stature when it comes to tweets about Bundesliga. But
Bayern in particular, yeah.
He's not always right to say it like that. He has saying Ten Hag is going to Bayern and saying something. When it comes to Bundesliga, I trust Fjordhoft. I think he's much better and more reliable.
Yeah, I like Janaga. But you know what it is, Jarvis? I believe that, and I think that's what's going to happen because I've been questioning the Bayern board and the way we're doing things for like 2 years now, and it's delivered very, very, very terrible results. And so they're gonna do just like we are a posh Man United, the German version, a posh version of Man United with the stadium that doesn't leak. You know, that's the only thing we got. But they've been making shitty decisions like this for about 2 years now. LA Fitness Goretzka in midfield next to Conrad Leimer. And you think you're going to go to the Bernabeu and win a game of football. Eric Dyer.
Instead of
Dio Upamecano.
You've got Kim Min-jae on the bench.
Oh, no.
Sane's been terrible except for 4 months.
Steve, it's like Mayday, we're sinking. What you thinking about?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. But for me, Bayern, I wanted them to be creative with the appointment because I could name 20 managers right now that I would welcome with open arms that nobody's heard of. That's whether it's in Italy or Spain. I would take Knudsen from Bodo Glimt right now at Bayern München. Right now. Give him a chance. Think outside the box. It pisses me. I'm sorry I'm going on a rant, guys. I'm not trying to take over the show. But for me, it's such a pet peeve of mine when people say the striker market's dead, the manager market's dead, the right-wing market's dead, the fullback market's dead. No, it's not. You just don't. You don't watch enough football. You don't watch enough football. And B, the scouts at your club better be watching football, and they better be finding someone for the job. There's 7 billion people on Earth.
See, and this, you know, if we revert, if we revert, you know, on course, probably back to Man United. This is the only thing that I'm concerned about is if we do end up sacking Ten Hag, which I'm in that boat of I would get rid of Ten Hag, and I can do the exact same thing as Steve. I can name 5 or 6 coaches that I think could walk through the door and probably do a better job right now. But if I'm going based upon what I've got right now, and I can see what Bayern Munich are doing. Bayern Munich are a big football club. They have finances to give a manager time. They'll give a manager maybe a little bit of time to work with a group of players to build what they want to do, but they have to win the league straight away and be successful, and they have to compete in the Champions League and minimum get to where they got to this season, which was semi-finals. That's a minimum. If you don't do those things, they'll probably get rid of you. So I look at Bayern's sort of scattergun of going for different managers, and Spurs did it a couple of years ago where I think they interviewed 7 or 8 managers and nobody wanted it, so they ended up going for someone in the Premier League who was out of a job in Nuno, and that turned out well. He, you know, went off course for I don't even think it lasted 6 10 weeks or something. But this is what I mean, and this is my concern with Man United. If we get rid of Ten Hag, I want the guy who they want to already have either had contact with him or line him up, whatever, and it already be a done deal. If you pull the trigger on Ten Hag, I want something in motion already before you do it. Because if not, I almost feel like we're going to leave ourselves short. And that's one of the reasons why when people, Man United fans in particular, are getting worried about this myth with Gareth Southgate and the England squad aren't going to finish the Euros until after July. Manchester United, if they get rid of Erik Ten Hag and appoint a manager, they need a coaching before then because pre-season is going to begin. And so if there's not going to, and Gareth Southgate, with all the respect he has in football, I don't think he'd do the FA like that and say before a major tournament with England, oh yeah, by the way, guys, I'm leaving and going to Manchester United at the end, before the even tournament's kicked off. If he's going to do, if he was going to do anything, or there was a deal to be done, guys, I think it had probably been done behind closed doors, and would have heard all about this now. But Gareth Southgate's the guy that they want and everything. But listen, the chopping and changing managers. When Nagelsmann was in the window, he was a name that was mentioned. You've had De Zerbi fired up for a couple of weeks when he said that he wanted to leave. All of a sudden, he's reverted back and said, "I want to stay." That's completely gone out the window. You know. You're not going to get managers like Ancelotti out when they've got a decent project going for them. You've got a real problem in the market. And it's not that there's a lack of managers out there. It's a lack of application. You look at what Palace have done, for example. They brought in Glasner, who to be fair, I think he's quite an underrated coach for what he's done.
I said Chelsea should have got him, or Spurs.
He's a European winner.
Champion,
He's won the Europa League. I think he's done quite well with Frankfurt on a budget in the Bundesliga, and he's got an attractive style, which players, in particular young players, buy into quite well. And that's the way that I think Ineos are wanting to go with. So if they're going to go for a coach, I think they're going to go for a coach who arguably has probably won something in the game, can work with young players under a decent structure which is going to support them. But I think the one thing that's going to come into play more so or less is that they are going to have to be the coach. There's none of this, I want a say in transfers, I want a veto like what Ten Hag's got. You know, I want to be informed on all the scouting reports for players. And listen, we're going to get on a plane to go to Reykjavik and watch a player in the Icelandic League. There's none of that. It's going to be Monday to Friday. You're going to work on the training ground, and you're going to do what the club want you to do, which is play a system and play a style. That's what you want from a club. And for me, I look in football as my last point anyway. With what Liverpool in particular have done, they've set up a structure where they've got a CEO who's formerly their sporting director, in Michael Edwards. They've now got in a new CFO who's going to run the whole football operations for like a bit of a multi-club operation they've got. And they've brought in the guy from Bournemouth who's a decent recruiter of young players. They've identified people, in particular in the Premier League system, who have had good success with building young teams and getting them to succeed. And then now when they've recruited a manager, they didn't do maybe what Bayern have done, where they've gone and they've almost offered the job to 4 or 5 different managers. They sort of filled the way out of there in the market at Amorim, at Slot, at De Zerbi. And it was almost like, well, let's see who conducts themselves better in the media or better in the public eye, where it doesn't necessarily affect them. Do I think that if you would have offered Amorim the job or De Zerbi the job and had taken it? Absolutely, I do. But De Zerbi in that time frame had blown up and said he wanted to leave. That wasn't the sort of time frame that you want to. That's not the sort of character you want. Liverpool are a very different club to Man United. Do you want a character who's cool, calm, composed, has a bit of a laugh, and also can coach young players, which is what Liverpool are trying to do. They're trying to rebuild. So I look at Man United now. We've got an aging squad. We need to offload a lot of players. I think we need to galvanise a lot of young players come into this team. For me, I already said it, 6 months ago. I'd have gone and got Elise when you could have got the kid. I'd have got him out of Palace ages ago. He's a top player. Even when I look at the market, we missed the boat out on so many good young players. And as I said on Nuruddin's show before, when Steve was on there as well, I said, if you look at Elise, you look at the facilities at Man United right now, you walk into every single ground, Tottenham Stadium, Emirates, wherever, Newcastle, Villa. There's a proper atmosphere, there's a proper vibe, there's a mood. You walk out at Old Trafford like he would have done in the previous season, and he'd have played against us like he did and played possum with us. He must have thought, what am I going to buy into with that team? There's nothing to buy into at all.
The club.
And I said before, if you look at it from the trajectory of clubs, Man United right now, we are like a wave. We're just a wave that's going through the motions and we don't know where we're going. Where you look at clubs like Newcastle, Villa, there's a plan to try and get to the top. But for us anyway, if I look at recruitment with players, if we're going to go for a young model and a young game model and progression of football, we need to see it consistently. That's my only problem. And consistency comes from having a coach who's going to be the coach, a proper structure above them that's going to support them and flack off the media almost if they want to try and portray that the manager's not good enough or whatever. And just give people what they want, which is entertaining football. We want a team, like Stu said before, he wants to go to games, he wants to be entertained week in, week out. That's what you want. You want teams that are going to fight and a bit of character from players. And like I said before with these players anyway, if you don't want to play for Ten Hag, I can accept that because of what I've seen for this season. But if you don't want to play for Ten Hag, play for the badge that's on your crest and on your chest and play for those fans that's in the stadium because it means more to them, this football club, than you know properly. You get a paycheck at the end of the month, writing out 100 at the end of the week for £100,000. Some people don't make £100,000 in a year, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So think about what you want to do with your career as a player before you even come to Manchester United, or not? Because if you don't want to play for managers, fine, play for the football club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm a bit conscious of time. I think we have 20 minutes left of the show. We have a video from Jay. I promised you Jay, but he had some Wi-Fi connection, so we're just gonna play a video with Jay, and you can see what he had to say. And people, we are doing a Q&A at the end of the show, so we need questions in. So people, if you have any questions about the topics related we have talked about today, bring them, and we will try to answer as good as we can. Where is the J video? Mick, can you play the J video? It's not here.
Coffee break. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. It's been a cracking show. Strasbourg Steve in the house, Jarvis Cocker, Stu Woolley, Tom Journalist, and Jay Daly, who could not be on. He could not get his Wi-Fi tune. Glazers hijacked it, but here he is with a video upload. Let's listen to big applause for Jay Daly and his contribution for today.
Hi, Jarvis and Alistair. Sorry I couldn't be with you tonight live, but unfortunately some technical issues. So guys, you know your Shakespeare, pathetic fallacy yesterday. It was like the storm scene in King Lear. King Lear is out of the storm in rage, and the famous quote, blow winds rage blow until your cataracts and hurricane spout. That was manifested yesterday in Old Trafford. The raw, palpable emotions of the fan base, I think, was manifested yesterday in that storm. But those storm clouds have been brewing since the ignominious exit from the Champions League last December. Red flags have been put up by this manager month in, month out. Lots been made of the injuries, fair enough. But United languish now at mid-table. Yeah, there's a cup final to look forward to, but even the most resolute red to spectacle fan is hard to look forward to a cup final against Man City. Yesterday, United went quiet into the night with a whimper. Arsenal didn't have to leave first gear. They went a goal up, and it was literally Arsenal looking at United like a mid-table team. The old rivalry is dead. It was just, we're here, we're going to tickle your belly, we're taking 3 points, and there's nothing that you can do about it. On the pitch, Scott McTominay doing his normal jumping frog antics, where he'll jump and jog around the player and around the ball, but he won't press and he will not put in a tackle. And he will play the odd 5-yard pass. That was McTominay yesterday. He has not improved since I last saw him play under Jose Mourinho 5 years ago. Dalot, to his credit, probably our best player of the season. Johnny Evans, the much maligned Johnny Evans, gets a lot of stick in the fan base. The man is in mid-30s. He's playing injured. But to give him credit yesterday, dominant in the air, confident on the ball, and practically every time he was playing the ball down the flank, he was looking for Garnacho to put him free. Garnacho, young player, not going to go in hard on him, but yesterday he's beating the fullback, and then the end product was non-existent, straight to the goalkeeper or side netting. Højlund cannot keep the ball and hold up the play. I know he's running a very lonesome furrow up top for us, but yesterday Højlund looked lost. I think it's the frustration that he's not receiving service from either of his wingers. Ahmed looked great yesterday in spurts. Got to give him credit. I want to see more of him. But we know when Rashford decides that he wants to play against Newcastle or Brighton and ultimately the cup final, Rashford will get that spot. So lots been made today in the media about players and how many of these players, if United were chasing a title, would they be fit to play? The jury's out on that. But yesterday, what I saw on the pitch, it was dull, lifeless, and listless. And I think that storm there at the end, as I opened with, was quite poetic. The fans that I spoke to yesterday, the broken fan base, fans have had enough. That's been made of the close on the billion quid spent on players over the last number of years, but it was the wrong players, bought at the wrong time, and put on obscene contracts. So these problems at the club go far deeper than Erik ten Hag. It's a culture problem, and it's a problem that Sir Jim and Brailsford and the gentleman now running the football operations have a very tough act to decipher where they're going next. The Glazers are happy; they have their money, and they've abdicated football operations to Sir Jim. The stadium's fallen apart. There's been no investment in infrastructure. Carrington isn't fit for purpose. So I really don't know where we go from here. Maybe Jarvis and Alistair can cast some light on it. Good night, guys.
Yeah, big up, Jay.
Big up.
Any thoughts? Alistair, I mean Stu, probably.
Yeah, Stu haven't said anything in a while. Stu.
It goes back to my original statement, doesn't it? It was an interesting game. And I think he's touched on points where both Tom, yourself and myself, and probably Mick, all saw different elements of the game we were pleased with, and more elements and not that we weren't pleased with. So I think the biggest take from that is the cultural side of it. I think we all realise the cultural side of it. It's been a shambles for all these years, and we could pick the bones out of the cultural side of it for a long time. And I think even post Glazers, whenever that's likely to be, we'll be able to still be talking about this disastrous tenure that these guys have had owning the greatest football club on the planet. It's a very difficult one, but it does lead us to Q&A time, Jarvis.
Yes, sir.
Favorite part of the show, the Q&A. So the VAR room have been hard at it again. The gaff is in. Are you staying, Mick, for the Q&A?
Yeah, I stay quiet, and I love this section actually.
Yeah, everyone loves the Q&A.
I just came to the rescue because of the technical issues. So
yeah, no, everyone loves the Q&A. We've got loads in, and let's start with
get your popcorns ready.
Yes, let's start with SL. Thoughts on Ahmed's performance. So we'll give that to our esteemed guest, Steve.
I think it showed why a lot of your fans and other fans of other football fans have been kind of questioning Ten Hag as to why did it take so long to see the guy play in this game, play a game for you guys. Why did it take 36 match days? Is this his first or second start in the Premier League?
I would say second.
Second.
Yeah.
And to that, I ask you why. Your attack is the 12th best in the league on goals. You're tied with Fulham, Palace, and I think Wolves. And I think above you is Bournemouth, Luton, and there's another one. Basically, what I'm trying to say is your attack this year has been dreadful from everyone involved. Bruno, not good this season. Some moments here and there, but consistency from me, I don't see it from the guy. Højlund had a good patch, and he showed why I still think there's a good player in there. I just don't think it might have been the right move at the right time, but whatever. So he showed at least a little something, but again, no consistency. Garnacho, hot and cold, more oftentimes than not, very cold. Anthony needs to move out. Ten Hag's not utilizing him correctly either. So I think what Ahmad's performance showed, it raised more questions to kind of me as to like, why isn't this guy playing for Man United more? He looks very capable. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm not saying he's the best right winger in the world. I'm not saying he's a superstar in the making, but he's damn sure not going to do worse than the other attackers I listed. I don't think that's too crazy of a statement. So in terms of his actual performance, quick feet. I love the fact that when he dribbles, he tries to make something happen, but he does it smart. Adjustments on the fly. Always keeps his head up. Doesn't mind. He's a team player. He's looking for a pass. I thought it was a good performance from Ahmed Diallo. And I think he should start against us on Wednesday if it's a merit-based thing.
Well, you would probably steal him. You would love to take him to Newcastle by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We need a right winger. We need a right winger. If we don't get my boy Federico Chiesa, I'll take Diallo.
Yeah, the guy is a dancer. You saw him with the ball. So low center of gravity, just glides by. You know, I was just surprised. He was like a locksmith. Like, you know, there's 3 surrounding players he got out of it. Like, you know, it's not the first time he's done it. He's seen it before. And, you know, I just think that, you know, if you look at the commercial value versus Anthony, I think the club is rather prefer to play the £90 million signing than actually somebody that is under development. But he showed yesterday what the fuck is a winger all about. Seriously.
Yes.
We played so much better, so much composed. I just love the way he pinged the ball over to the other side to find Garnacho. You know,
he takes risks, but he takes risks he knows will pay off. He doesn't lose the ball in stupid areas. And if he does, it's in an area where it's okay to lose it because he's trying to make something happen.
But he's not a fidget spinner. That's the thing.
Yes, exactly.
That's all. I hope that answers your question.
Before we move on, we have received gifts. We have Gary C in the house.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, sorry, I did not see that. Let me.
Hold on.
Oh my God!
Five new members from Gary C. And who do we got?
Excellent.
We have Rich Club Sport, Andy Slate, Kevin Fraser, Johnny Choi, and Simon Smith. Welcome to the club. And remember to thank Gary C. in the chat for his generous gifting to the VAR room.
Welcome to the family, Doris.
SL, I hope that answers your question. Thanks, Steve and Mick, for that. We have another question from Madhouse. Any good places to go surfing in the UK?
Yesterday.
Actually, we don't have that many servers that I know of in the UK, but I believe Cornwall in the UK is the place for that. But I'm not a surfer. I wouldn't have a clue. But Cornwall's very, very, very beautiful, so that would be ideal. Tom Journo, we have a question for you. Would you sign Monsieur Amrabat?
Yeah, I would do under the pretense McTominay goes, but if he doesn't, I probably wouldn't. No, I'd rather reinvest money elsewhere, but I don't think he's bad as a squad player, like we said earlier. But it's dependent upon other players. But if you sign Amrabat, you need to sign a starting number 6. That's all I will say. I think he's a decent player. Come and do a job for you, sure, a game up, but he's not going to be a long-term future player. Not for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
I think he's a solid, consistent. He's not remarkable. He's not top 10 in his position, but is he a reliable player? Particularly if you notice, by the way, he's a particularly good cup player, tournament player. He will put in over a season. He's consistent, but sometimes he doesn't stand out as much in league fixtures. Certain ones, yes. For Morocco, he stood out. For Fiorentina last year in the conference, I think he stood out, and their Coppa Italia run as well. So he's a guy. He's a good squad player to have on that. I think he does his job to a pretty good level, and for the price, like, why not? It depends manager-wise as well. Maybe if you get a new manager, maybe he doesn't need an Amrabat or want one, but I think you should make the signing. Good player.
He's a good player. We haven't seen much of him in the number 6 role, and yesterday was the first time at all. Like, he's been, shoehorned in different positions when we need in this dire injury season. So, I mean, yesterday showed, as what Jarvis always say, like, our midfield and most of the players are made of porcelain, but this guy is willing to take a yellow card or a red card, is willing to get stuck in and be just a little bit of a dirty tank, And I just remember yesterday he ran back and grabbed the ball from Saka, just totally, made a banana skin out of him. And I kind of want to see more out of it. That's my general feeling. So 18 million, cheap.
Quick follow-up question. How much would Amrabat cost?
I think it's 18 million.
18 million, but I think you can chop that tree down a bit further.
Yeah,
12. You're going for 12. Easy.
Because Fiorentina don't need him anymore. They've got good depth in midfield. They've got Alfred Duncan, Bonaventura. They've already replaced him, to be honest. So
you're going
to come in with a scandalous bid. Hey, here's 12. Take it, leave it, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. Jarvis, you are up next, pal. With Alien Tello, and I will get that up. What's needed upmost at United is the camaraderie of a team. Bonding is everything. I think what he's asking is, I think he's asking about, forget individual players, what's your feelings about the bond?
You feel it's the chemistry between the players is not there. You don't see them together. We have a couple of I would say leaders in the squad. We have some like Licha, and you see him like high-fiving, he's talking, he's constantly backing up his whole team, and they work together. But when he's not around, it's nothing. It's like they don't know each other in a way. You see Dallo sometimes try to high-five if he makes a block or something, but besides that, there's nothing. And they don't have to be best friends. We all know the stories about the Teddy Sheringham and was it Andy Cole? They didn't even speak, and we have had some in our history in Man United. But you have to respect each other, and you have to help each other to become better footballers, because it benefits the team in sum total. And we see a lot of these players are not helping each other out to be the best version of themselves. So I think that will be a part where I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his team can improve the squad by making them, I don't know, like team building exercises and stuff like that to make them cooperate in a better way.
Well, last season, Jarvis, it was a much, much better togetherness and camaraderie and fight. And I saw something yesterday, though, the way we were playing more as a unit, like, we're more compact, going forward and attacking in the midfield. And, you got to get rid of that player power, like, to not have stars or divas. Everyone is equal in the team. Like, you look at Arsenal, how they play exactly like there's no stars in that team. You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, no, most definitely. Trevor Wade next. I'll take this one as it's about myself. Trev, when I'm on the wedding dance floor, pal, that's when I drop the grooves to Mr. Ebenezer. Good. That's just for you, Trev. Just for you. Gaffer has said... Question for you, Ivo Bostic. It's more of a statement, but it also requires some comment. Mourinho summed it up best. Defensive 75%, coached 25% players. I think he's saying attack is 25% coach, 75% players. You need brains up there to unlock defense on the fly. I think what he's saying is, you are coached the defensive setup. The attacking setup needs brains.
It's about shape.
So true, because any legendary team you look at, best team in the world ever played, it's always built on a solid defensive partnership, the back four, right? You build it from there. You know, you got to have it. And you look at United last season, we had, you know, we won the Golden Glove and less conceded goals. We are, you know, we were arguably to be say the best defense in the team. And then you compare it to this season where you had like, you know, how many different combinations of centre backs? 15 or
13, I think it said on the Sky.
so, and all of a sudden, so many shots conceded and goals.
30,
So yeah,
I think
it
35
speaks volumes.
different back fours.
Yeah. So that speaks volumes. You know, how important it is to have a stable, you know, backline partnership.
What I would say though about I get it, the backline combination thing is that's incredible amount of the injuries and stuff like that. And I get it, and I think what you, because you guys have conceded a lot of goals in all comps and a lot of shots. I don't think what a lot of Man United fans are personally, the ones I talk to, I don't think they're asking for perfection in terms of like I think people would understand if there's a bit of a drop off or like even maybe a little bit more than a bit. I just think I think in terms of how bad it is, I feel like that is a bit. It's like okay, that it should be better than that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think, but that's a coaching thing and a player thing. Like for me personally, I would take you guys seriously if you got rid of the manager and a ton of your players, because then that's what the new owners, bro. If they just start off with a new slate on everything, and we're like, I'm bringing in this coach, he's gonna play this way. We're gonna recruit this profile player over the name of the player, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna see how it goes. If it fails, we'll try again. That for me would be a sign of seriousness because it's something you haven't done yet, right? You've changed the manager a few times and you have changed the players, but you haven't just completely obliterated the whole thing, both at the same time, which I think is possible. It's a bit tricky to do, but if you have dedication and a plan to do it, if you look at Eintracht Frankfurt the year before they won the Europa League, they had a lot of outgoings. They had a lot of outgoings and a lot of incomings. I know it's Frankfurt, Man United, two different levels, clubs, whatever. But the point still stands. They had a ton of outgoings and a lot of good players left. But they replaced them, and a new manager came in, Glasner, and they won the Europa League a year later. So it is possible.
The same with Arsenal, Stephen. Same with Arsenal. Like, you know, Arteta, his third year, he got rid of all these deadwood players and replaced them with the Saliba and, Ben White, and they start cooking. They were youngsters.
We're in the process of getting rid of our deadwood and bringing in higher quality players throughout the squad.
But do you think that, you know, you're in the process also to change the manager? Like, you know, he's taking this team as far as he can with Newcastle, or do you think you're looking for a more elite coach next time around? Or
if Mourinho was offered to me tomorrow, I would do it because for me,
he's looking.
And you know what it is? He was Bobby Robson's. He was Bobby Robson's assistant at Porto, at Barca, and at Newcastle. So he's always had affection for Newcastle, has talked about it before. Sign me up tomorrow. I like Eddie, done a great job. But for me, defensively, Mourinho will set up we have a lot of Mourinho-esque players. Mourinho likes players like Isak. That's a Mourinho striker. Butman, Byrne, these kind of Nick Pope. Like our squad,
Joe Linton,
big, tough. Joe Ellington is a Mourinho player.
Yeah.
These guys, it's a Mourinho team. Big, strong, tall, physical, powerful. I would go on for me, I would bring in Mourinho. But Eddie Howe, if we keep him for next year, I understand it. I just want to see. I do want to see some sort of trophy over the line because I don't want to be in a Spurs situation where they had a damn good team for a few years. They had an FA Cup semifinal, Champions League final, Carabao Cup final, contended for the Premier League 2 years in a row, and then resulted in nothing. And I'm not saying we're at that Spurs. That Spurs team was sick. Dembele, Kane, Son, Wanyama, Lloris, Toby, Yan, Walker. We're not at that level. But for me, I'm trying to get there. So, and I think of Mourinho, could win us a cup next year with our team, and also Mourinho attracts a certain. He still has a good status in European football. He can still attract players because of his name, because of who he is, and he would want to come to Newcastle as well and make an impression. It wouldn't be like I'm half-assing the job. So I would take Mourinho tomorrow. But I do like Eddie.
Okie dokie. So moving on, another question for me from Mark, our producer, who's in the background. So hi, Mark. He's asking. We were talking about Højlund a little bit earlier on in the stream, and he was asking about, is it a result of chemistry not being in sync? I think he's talking. He realizes, Mark, that I'm a hugely popular dancer when I'm out at weddings, because I believe NSYNC do a lot of dance-ish music. So I could get down to that as well, Mark. I'd get the old snake hips going for you, pal. I feel like they're all adjusting to try and compensate for each other, but not enough time to get used to each other. 100%, mate. You're absolutely right.
Can you do the Running Man or the moonwalk? What's your favorite?
I'm not really that elastic, to be honest. I've got about 3 moves, but to be fair, it used to get me girls. We say these same 3 moves used to get me the girls, so I was quite happy with that. So but no, they do need to find a rhythm, and they need to find a rhythm soon, really, because Højlund will stagnate otherwise. Unfortunately, Mark, and it's a shame. Yeah. Tom, quick one for you. I am conscious of time as well. We're on 2 hours 6 minutes with stream, so. Tom, for you, how much for Eze, or would you think Eze is valued? That's a tricky one, I think. That
I think it's quite tricky because he's a good player.
Very good.
If I had to pick out of anyone in that Palace team, I'd take Elise out of all of them. For me, I think he's the far superior player, and I think Elise gives you a lot more options, because I think he can play out wide. You saw against yesterday. When we played Palace a week ago, he can play through the middle of people. So if you can do that with so much rhythm and energy, I think you could even probably put him in a false 9 and he wouldn't struggle. But as right now, I'd probably say he's about 50, 60 million pounds right now. But because I don't think he's had a massive run in, consistency I think is a problem for him, based on he's had a couple of injuries. I know previous year he had an injury and he didn't even, Roy Hodgson, God bless him anyway, he didn't even get Elise and Eze back before he was sacked from injuries and everything. But no, I think with Glazers, I think they've got a good coach, and look, even if both of them don't go in the summer, I think it might even be better if they can keep hold of them for this summer, really. Because I think the stock's only going to rise for those 2 players, in particular, if they keep them. But listen, Palace are a financially driven football club. If they can get money for at least one big player, they're going to flog them on. They did that with Wan-Bissaka that summer with us. They're probably going to look at cashing in on one of the big players. They've got Gay at the back. Elise, Eze. You could even make a case for that Wharton in midfield as a young player. We've seen it with Chelsea. But everyone really was saying, why are they paying £40 million for a player who's made 7 appearances for City's first team in Parma? You've seen the reason why this season. So, look, I'd probably take him at Manchester United, but he wouldn't be my first choice. But I'd say about 50, 60 million.
Yep. Okay, excellent. Jarvis, question for you. Do you see Man United being able to compete instantly? Well, forget the all with bit.
Yeah. No, basically, but I can elaborate. The structure is all wrong. The squad is out of balance. It will take time. I know when it comes to transfers, only like about under 50% of transfers work is successful. So, if we need, let's say, 5 players, it will take 10 signings, and we can't do 10 signings in one window. So it will at least be 2 seasons before we can compete. Yeah, so basically 2, but I would most likely say 3.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Excellent. We've got a couple of questions on this. So, Boxing Straight Talk, good to have you with us. when Ten Hag gets sacked, who do we all want as manager? Ten Hag can't stay with the answer. So start with you, Jarvis, then Mick, then Stevie, and then Tom.
Yeah.
And then I'll put my bit in. One word answers, please, guys.
I can start. I would say Michel from Girona, just because he's pragmatic, a good manager. He's not too far from Ten Hag. He plays the 3-1-6 formation. He's a little bit more Man United. He plays with wingers, overloads on each side. So yeah, I would like him to be a Man United manager, if not Ten Hag. And I think it's not too far off from what Ten Hag is trying to build, so it wouldn't set us back too much.
Yeah. Mick, for you?
First and foremost, I don't think they're going to sack him this year. They're planning for his succession, and I've been always consistent to say that in 2025 there'll be better managers available on the market, and his contracts will be out. So it's all about putting the right structure in place and get rid of the deadwoods clearance, which we haven't seen any manager being given, and a little bit of a backing and see how it cooks. But in 2025, I would definitely go for the best manager available, which is Xabi Alonso. 100% I would go for him. So he plays that really... I mean, if you look at what they want to play a possession-based style football, and Xavi is the guy that can play possession-based football. So I would definitely go for Xabi Alonso. That's my opinion.
Tom?
If I'm looking at the manager market right now, he's not in work. Won 6 trophies in a season. Massively, I don't think he's propped up enough as a coach. I'd go Hansi Flick, me personally. Brilliant style of football, work with big players. And the one thing that I would say anyway, I think he worked with an Asian depleting German squad. He's not relished with a generational talent that he's had time to work with. And even when I look at what he did with Bayern Munich with that team that he had, yeah, it was built for him. He had a structure above him, but the one thing that he got results. He got the best out of that team that Niko Kovac couldn't do. And at the end of the day, he played what I would say anyways, one of the best games of football that I've ever seen, and game plans against Barcelona. But for me, I would go Hansi Flick.
Yeah,
Hansi.
Okay, good answer. And Stevie?
I'm going to go creative here. It's either I'm debating between Frank Heis, RC Lons, or Alberto Gilardino at Genoa. I'll go with Frank Heis because there's more experience there. Took Lons from Ligue 2 to Champions League this year. Has always finished 7th place at Lons since they've been back in Ligue 2. I like the flexibility. He plays 3-4-1-2. Can also play a 3-4-2-1. I love the coaching. I love the talent ID that he has. I like, everyone in the team is has very, very defined roles. The skill sets match what the role requires. They consistently get good results in Liga against the big teams. They've beaten Paris Saint-Germain multiple times. They beat Arsenal 2-1 in the Champions League. They're competitive in that group for what people were expecting. I knew that they would put on a good show. But for me, and I like the way he handles himself, I think that would be a really, really good appointment. For me, back three is the new way forward. It's going to be the new 4-2-3-1 because everybody likes ball-playing center backs. You can have 3 of them. Everybody likes wing backs that bomb up high up the pitch. You can get them up even higher and have defensive cover in the 3, keep a midfielder back. You can switch between a 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, and 3-4-1-2 like that in game, easy. If you have the personnel to do so, and I think the guy in game makes these tactical switches, just like Xabi Alonso does. Xabi Alonso will switch around. That 3 at the back is it's the way of the future, man. It's the way of the future. So for me, Frank Heis at RC Lons.
Okay.
It sounds a bit like a French Eddie Alva. He's took him all the way from League and then took him to Champions League.
Yeah. And he's a very good coach.
No, brilliant. So for me, I'm with Mick. I don't think Ten Hag goes. I think he stays. I still think there's something in Ten Hag. I'd like to see him stay moving forward. However, if I had to choose, which this question stipulates I do, Inzaghi for me from Inter Milan. He's a foundation manager. He would be the one for me moving forward.
You know what's funny? Mick picked Javi Alonso, 3 at the back. Inzaghi, 3 at the back. Francaise, 3 at the back. There's a pattern, and look how good those two were.
So, Stevie, Jarvis will tell you what's my favourite formation at the minute.
Yeah, 3 in the back.
At the back. I've been talking about it. I've been talking about it for weeks.
You see the vision. You see the vision.
Yes, I do. Right.
I just want to elaborate 2 seconds. It's a WM formation. It's about the 3-2-2-3, and everybody is doing it. Every manager in the world is doing the WM formation in a way. It's a fluid formation. It's not numbers. It's about players, and you always have the box in the middle. And the line up front and the line in the back. That's just how it works.
Definitely. Right. Gaz Taylor has come up with a question. Stevie, this is for you. Would it help developing the club, or would it help? Yes, I think what he's saying is, would the club develop better outside of Europe next season? Steve.
Oh, that me? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Would it help your club? Actually, I'll answer for both.
If we develop outside,
Would it help Newcastle being out of Europe? No, because we're growing and we need to keep on. We need to increase the profile of the club on a global stage because of being in the wilderness for so damn long. And for Man United, no, because you need the dollars and bills. So no, it doesn't benefit either for me. On a coaching perspective, yes, because then you don't have to deal with the game in midweek. You can focus on FA Cup and Carabao Cup, but top managers know how to handle themselves in multiple competitions, at least somewhat respectively, and they don't let things go off the rails too badly. But no, it's not a benefit to either club to miss out on Europe.
Lovely. Another question for you from Danny B. I don't know whether you know him or not. A question for Strasbourg, Steve. What are your thoughts on Ashworth, and what players did he bring to Newcastle in the time there, or in his time there?
I want to say he brought in Livramento, Lewis Hall, not Bruno or Isak. He might have brought in Botman. The thing with Ashworth for me that just, and I was talking about it earlier with Højlund, moving from club to club after a very short amount of time. Some just don't sit right with me about that in terms of like from a commitment perspective, from a sporting director, kind of higher up perspective. It seems like he's kind of jumping ship just to get promoted more. So I think it's a good appointment for you guys because I don't have a problem with what he's done. And I'll take the 20 million, but like it's just kind of weird that he just jumped ship from Brighton and then immediately to Newcastle and then immediately to Man United. I get it, like you want to raise and like you want the job opportunity and stuff, but just some strikes me off with it a bit. I don't know.
No, interesting answer. Thank you very much for that, yes. Steve. Jarvis, an E-Town job. Thoughts on Anthony's behaviour in the last match at Jarvis? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what actually you're talking about, his behavior. I can tell you a little bit. If any of you guys know, did he do anything that wasn't acceptable after the game?
He just had that weird ass look on his face like he was going to kill somebody when he was about to get subbed off.
Yeah, but I just want to elaborate when it comes to Anthony. Yesterday we saw him playing as a left fullback. And actually did a good job defending, and he's good. He positions himself in the great. He's not easy to dribble around, dribble past, and he knows how to win the ball. So actually, I think that maybe could be a role for him in the future if we keep him as a wing back, but not as a winger because he's not in the mold of Man United wingers. History of Man United, we have had since George Best, Norman Whiteside, Lee Sharp, Kanchelskis, Beckham, Giggs, Ronaldo, you name it. It's about attitude. It's about going past your fullback. It's about trying to create, doing something. When Anthony gets the ball, you see him taking down the ball, shaking a little bit, and pass the
Too
ball
much
side to back.
thinking. Too much
He
thinking
don't-
and
he
not enough
don't have-
instinct.
Yeah, this is the thing. He don't have the attitude. And for me, now we have had 2 seasons with Anthony. I think it's enough. If it's possible, I would try to sell him in the summer.
Yeah, I agree.
You did miss off the greatest.
I mean, something's got to give. You know, if you're looking to bring in Elise on the right wing, something has to give. You know,
yeah.
Is it? I'd be damned if they sell Ahmad over him, right? But
that would be bad.
that would be a bad mistake. But you have assets like Pelistri, which we rated at the club. But yeah, and then what's going to happen to Mason Greenwood? Nobody fucking knows.
Controversial, but I'll take him.
Yeah, no, you're right. Nobody knows.
He's a good player.
Okay, right. Moving on. First of all, Jarvis, you missed off Stevie Coppell. You know, the greatest right winger.
Yeah, and Jesper Olsen.
And he was quick and bang. Yes, Olsen.
Jesper Olsen, yeah.
Jordi Cruyff, although nobody actually knew where Jordi Cruyff actually played, but you know, Blomqvist, of course. You know, we almost had Morgan Gantz Pedersen, but it never materialised. It went to Blackburn. Mick, question for you: do you think Wilcox was responsible for the possession play yesterday, and the team being more compact?
Yes, his job is there to set a style of play or a game plan in how we want to play, and he's currently handling three hats at the moment. So technically, the bridge between the academy and the first team. But since there's nobody above Ten Hag currently to sort of be responsible for the transfer market and setting the game plan ahead, it's clearly there. Like, you know, and we've seen some changes lately since he came. Jarvis can agree. I think against Arsenal, we've seen a little bit the traits of the possession-based, how we, you know, managed to sort of pass the ball around and be a little bit more like City in the midfield. I would like to see that box midfield, what Arsenal is deploying. Even what, you know, the gegenpressing style, like what he was playing, like, you know, was the 4-2-2-2, right? So there was always boxes and connections and patterns to play. Now, of course, season is derailed already, but it's a sort of a kind of little bit of a taste where we can see them preparing for the FA Cup final. So I'm keen to see how this will further develop.
I agree, and I'm keen to see how we tackle Manchester City with Mr. Wilcox in his position, because last time we played them, he was nowhere near the club. This time he is. It'll be really interesting.
No, but he walked into the training ground and said, "Boys, drop your socks, and here's Wilcox."
Exactly. Tom, we've got a couple of questions to go, which is brilliant. Thank you also, everyone in the VAR room, for these questions. Have been absolutely brilliant. The panel's been superb. Jarvis, Tom, Stevie, and of course the gaffer, Nick, and a kind of cameo from me as well on the odd occasion. But it's a great question here for Tom. And you've spoken about this in the past, Tom, but would you change the medical staff for next season?
100% yes. It's an absolute debacle. Do you know a funny thing, right? Everybody hyped up when we nicked Gary O'Driscoll, which was Arsenal's chief doctor and sports science officer. When we nicked him from Arsenal in that season, when we actually nicked him, had the worst injury record season ever. I don't know if it's a curse. I don't know if it's his way of practice or the way of his medical, you know, practices, or, you know, his, you know, ideas of how sports science should be run in football. But he's brought it to Manchester United. As soon as he's left Arsenal have had the least most injuries hit season under Mikel Arteta.
Three centre-back pairings this season opposed to our 13.
Yeah,
13. Yeah,
we
13.
got
I don't
Arsenal.
buy this. To be fair though, guys, even just on the injury thing, anyway, I don't buy this nostalgia that you can have 65 cases of injury. I don't. I think some of them, to be honest, I think they pulled a sick here. You know, I can't come into work today. You know, I've got a cold. You know, I'm feeling something in my leg. It must have been an impact injury in training or some BS. Listen, if you can walk on 2 free, you can run and sprint, you know, 50 yards to a ball. You can play football. I'm sorry, you can. You can play through those sort of things. If you've got an injury, you've got a limp, or you're feeling a bit of pressure on one of your feet or something, fair enough. I've seen players play with, scratches, cuts, marks, everything. When you used to get studded back in the day, I've seen players get up and play and continue to play. So I'm not hearing this 65 cases of injury. To be honest, I think some of them is BS. Can't be asked to come in today, boss.
Correct.
Sorry. And I don't think some of these players want to play for him anyway. So
Tomo, I have a theory, Dr. Death, Arsenal. This is going to be a script sold to Netflix as a miniseries.
Do you know
Dr. Death at Carrington?
Do you know something? It wouldn't surprise me if Ineos are even thinking about putting something like that in the pipeline, because you'll make a fortune. You actually would make a fortune when you think about
The
it.
mystery behind
the figures that you can. No, seriously. If you did a documentary on Manchester United for a season, the figures that you would get, you'd get record viewing figures. I'll tell you that for a fact.
Amazon would be,
and the fees that you can charge these companies to do it would be astronomical as well. You're the biggest football club in the world. Get Fergie in for a couple of interviews, sit down, have a cup of tea, coffee, whatever. But have whoever's there, the new manager. Listen, they might have a couple of diggers there, build a new stadium. It'd be a PR minefield for him.
And then you start with a follow-up, the sequence, what happened to Paul Pogba's hyena that was buried there as well. Find it.
Darren, Darren and Kat, I hope that's answered your question. Obviously, Tom mentioned the 65 injuries, which is why I mentioned that one. I would like to say that a certain member on this panel did play 60 minutes with a broken arm once. Didn't realise I'd done it. 3 days in hospital after, but there you go. That's just life. There is one final question. It's a question to all of us. It's a great place to finish off, and it's from our old mate Ian McDonald. Question to the panel: is this something you see in Ten Hag, or is there something, I think he's saying, that you see in Ten Hag to say he deserves another season? I think everybody knows my thoughts on that one. So we'll start with Jarvis, and we'll go right round the panel, and we'll finish with you, Steve, if that's all right, pal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is the thing, I see things in Ten Hag, and the thing is, I as Steve do, I follow football, and there's a lot of managers around the world, and most, basically all the new managers follows almost the same blueprint in a way. They try to play progressive football. They attack, as we spoke about, three center backs or three in the back. They try to create overloads. They try to keep possession. They try to build up in patterns. It's about high press. It's about shifting play, and everything is basically the same. And Ten Hag is one of those. He has the same ingredients in his tactics. So I think if he has the right setup with the right players, he can succeed. There's no doubt about it in my mind that Ten Hag can do this. But the thing is, will he get backed? And that's another question. But I think he deserves another year. I want to see him. You can't say that injuries has not affected the season. And what people haven't mentioned when it comes to injuries is, okay, he can put 11 players on the pitch and get them to perform. But when it goes over time, the quality in training goes down because you don't have any players. You have 12 players available and a couple of academy players. And in training every day, you have to fill a team with academy players, and the level drops. And over time, it affects the team and the performance. And no one has mentioned this. But when it comes to our team, it's very important. So imagine if you have a full squad, it's a difference if you're a striker and you play against Licha every day. You have to raise your game. But if you play against an academy players, it's not the same. So this is a thing that people haven't mentioned. So for me, I'm willing to give him another season.
Yeah, so my take is pretty similar. I think he deserves a season. I think there is something out there, but I will always lean on player responsibility as the major factor in any football team not winning matches. I always have done, and I always will do. I am still the player today that will sit in that dressing room on a Saturday afternoon and listen to what the gaffer's got to say. I will listen to what he has to say, and I will try and implement it on the pitch. But I am alive on that pitch. I'm not a fucking robot. It is my responsibility to win that tackle if I need to win that tackle, to win that header if I need to win that header. I've been told where to stand. I shouldn't need to be told where to stand. I should instinctively know. And that's where I always come down as a player, current player. That's where I will always come down on. So I would like to see Ten Hag given another chance. I think he deserves another chance. I tend to agree with you. Great for the kids, though, to come through. If I'm a youth team player now and I'm going in, I'm getting up against Leach, I'm crunching Leach as hard as I fucking can. Make an impact. I want to see people make an impact. Players have to make an impact. People always say the manager's got to make the impact. The player's got to do that. If you have to get motivated to step out, pull your club shirt on and step out onto that pitch, go and do something else. Go and be a gardener. Go and do anything else, but don't put on your football shirt unless you're willing to die for that club, because that's how it is. That's how it's ingrained on me. I play on a Wednesday night with a mix of players, okay, and I fucking hate losing. I'm not the best winner, but I hate losing, and I can't abide losing. And I take that, and I, when I play football all the time. So that's my take on it. Mick?
Okay. You know my thought. I'm either in or out. Always been doubt because my standards, and I see football from a, from agents market, from a 360 perspective, from an independent journalist. So, listen, injuries have certainly derailed a manager's season, how he wants to play. You look at the bench, you look at the ability of the players, but there's something that we don't speak about. Is the overhaul of not only players but our coaching staff as well. And the reason per se, what I'm saying there, every time you get a new manager, the manager brings his whole entourage with them. Like, it might be his analysis, his coaches, but he hasn't been given that. You have bang average coaches, and a manager's job is to assemble a squad and managing the coaching staff as well. So he's got McLaren, he's Michel van der Gaag, and he's got one analysis, and the rest is the old guard going all the way back from Mourinho, Benny McCarthy's and all them. So your question is, the manager don't just coach everyone on the pitch. You have specialties, set pieces coaches, defensive coaches. They need to go. Seriously, you need to back him in that case. You need to back him with the right coaching staff as well. 100%, I believe so. Now, he's a big advocate of bringing up youth. He's definitely had a finger in the pie bringing up the youth. And if we look at our current academy and the way we looked back in the Arsenal, there were just kids sitting there. So the future looks bright. As currently saying, there is no better managers out there. If his role is just going to be a track coach manager, applying what finally you have a structure that will tell him, like it will be having accountability. Wilcox and fucking, what's his name? Ashwood will fucking bring down his neck. It's like, you got to rotate. You got to play this style of player. You fucking gone. That's the thing. No more favoritism. It's just to establish this, what we're calling like the unity, harmony, no divas. So if you get bids for a certain place that don't fit, get them out of the door, because we've never seen this before, and it's all about breaking the Glazonomics, assets, manager over assets anytime, right? So if Rashford is not good enough, he doesn't pass the ball, get him out,
Yep.
That's my answer. It's coaching is everything. Coaching.
Well said. Where do you come down on this, Tom?
Me personally, I look at the balance of what he did last season, and then with this season, he's had an injury hit season, fair enough. But I do look at individual personnel. I think he's not picked his battles wisely in the squad. I think he's had a lot of upturns and a lot of personal issues with players, whether it's man management or getting tough with players. The Sancho thing I understood because of the explicitness of it being in the public eye. But he's picked a fight with Casemiro in parts of this season. He picked a fight with Varane when he was fully fit and he didn't want to play him. He sat him on the bench and was prepared to play Johnny Evans and Maguire in front of him. And I look at overall the way that we have been playing for the majority of this season. He's had the ability to change it and go pragmatic and not play this fast transitional football, and he's refused to do it. I think if he would have done this and maybe months into this, months and months ago, probably as far back as the Champions League group stages, when he realised that he can't play that way and win games consistently, if he'd have gone and reverted back to what succeeded for him last season, and if he didn't get the results, I would have had a lot more understanding if he was to stay on from now until the end, from having next season onwards. But I just look at what Ineos have done. They've completely, screwed the ranks over. They've said to everybody, given them P45s and shift them on. New CEO, new football director, new technical director. Everybody of the old regime has not really survived. The stadium's not fit for purpose. So they're building plans for that. Carrington's not fit for purpose. They're building plans for that. And I'd be very shocked if they're not probably looking at the manager market right now as we speak, and probably looking at if there is another coach out there that they can take over from Ten Hag. But the one thing that I say is that I don't think they've made a decision yet. I think they're looking at the manager market, kind of how Bayern are, and thinking, we're not going to dip us toe in the water and necessarily go for managers, but we'll get all the right people in place and then probably make a decision. But I think there's enough people in place, there's a CEO in place, and there's one of the two technical directors who will run the football department, him and Wilcox and Ashworth. There's one of them in place. I think out of those two, where they've worked with the City Football Group, I think they can analyse whether he's fit for purpose at Manchester United or not. And I think if you base it off of 38 games for this season, irrespective of last season, for this season, for what they've seen, I wouldn't be impressed. Not enough to give him a third tenure now.
Okay. Thank you for that, Tom. And Steve, you get the final word for tonight, and then everybody, Jarvis will close the show. Thank you all for listening. It's been amazing. We've had tons and tons of viewers today. Brilliant VAR room once again. We've had the gaffer gracing us with his presence. So it doesn't always happen. Thank you for that.
I feel I've been part of an epic Dune 3 movie.
It has been epic. It has been
2 hours and 36 minutes, man.
Yeah, Tom has been superb as usual. And Steve, you've been great since you've been with us. So if I can ask you to sum up in around a minute, if you don't mind, pal, that would be brilliant. And then Jarvis will close us.
For me, I would, I don't, if I was a Man United fan, I would want him sacked, but I would want everyone gone. Everybody. Blow the whole thing up, because if there is a season to do it, it's this one. Is it not? And I'm talking everyone. Staff, coaches, players. I wouldn't tolerate that. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. That's just me. I don't think players have delivered for you guys. I don't think Ten Hag has done as good as I don't think he's shown good enough adaptability in certain situations with the injuries. Like I said, there's a threshold to screw up. I think he's way past that in terms of grace. But yeah, I think y'all should blow the whole thing up. The whole thing up. Because
just
for real. Can I ask you guys real quick, yes or no? Is this, if there is ever a season for you guys where you have broken multiple records, where you have conceded a ton of goals, you've lost a bunch of games, Champions League, all of this stuff, this season has been miserable for you guys. I'm friends with tons of Man United who have different opinions about players, managers, club. All of them are miserable. That's the one consistent thing. Every single one of them is miserable and fed up with the season. So if there is a season to blow everything up, it is this one, right?
So just pull the pin, throw in the hand grenade, and watch them stick to the wall.
And start again. Yeah. So for me, I do think, I would start from scratch, because sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes, that's just me though.
Steve, that was a brilliant answer, mate. You've been superb. Thanks very much for coming on. No, it's Jarvis's show. I always do this because I always do the Q&A section, don't I? And it's my good mate's show to my left as I look.
Yeah. Jarvis, if you don't mind, I just need to promote something before you close the shop. If you just a couple of seconds. I just want to add this to the stage. Guys, every Jarvis Corner from now on is going to be viewed as a podcast on Spotify. You can go straight into the MUC Realist.tv, get your latest news, videos, and podcasts as well. And Yeah, we are writing articles with Strategy News and New York Times in the summer as well. So it's going to be very interesting. And hopefully I get some articles from Stu coming in as well.
Yes, I'll start doing a few bits and pieces over the next few months. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Fantastic. We have had a great show, 2 hours and 40 minutes. And that's a new record for
Scorsese, Blair. Scorsese.
It's a great show for a podcast. So you guys go to the website, listen to the podcast while you're doing like gardening work or whatever. It's a good relaxation and United talk. And I will thank everybody in the VR room for showing up and bringing all the comments. Ian McDonald, Trevor Wade, Ivo Bosic, Lucky Singh, Lily's United, Anita Handjob, Day 147, Mark.
Don't forget Jack.
Yeah, and Jack. And,
I didn't get done by that one.
I was going Jack Hoff. Making sure Hoff. Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
we have some new names. You have Cat and the regulars, Boxing Straight Talk, DJ Superfly. A lot of you guys. Thank you so much for contributing to the show. Thank you to the panel, Steve, Tom,
Rush Mano for the gifts.
Nick, and Jay coming in with his video and all those gifts. We have had 45 new members on this show. That's fantastic. Thank you, Gary C. And we will have a show coming up next Monday, 9 p.m. as usual. So, guys, stay tuned and do me one more favor before you leave. After the show, go into the non-live comments and tell me who you want as our next manager next season. Do you want Ten Hag, Michel, whatever, Thiago Motta? Tell us. And we will see you on the next show. So thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.